Dragging ass on a Monday morning. It's Ben and Woods on 97.3, The Fan. And holy smokes, what a weekend, right? I'm Woodsy. To my right is Paul Reindl. Good morning, Paulie. He's our executive producer. Howdy.
Good morning.
How's it going?
It's going.
Good.
How you doing?
I'm fantastic. To my left is Benjamin R. Higgins, Secretary of Homeland Exploration. Good morning to you, Benjamin.
Of course we're tired after we spent every moment at Comic-Con over the weekend.
No.
As you could tell from the video we posted on Friday.
Now, we did about an hour down at Comic-Con on Friday, and without badges, I think that was enough. And Paulie put together a really, really great representation of our time down at Comic-Con after the show on Friday. Got some funny observations and stories from that whole scene. Of course, went down to Comic-Con with our boss, Adam Klug, and he drove us down in the 97.3, the fan van. The Ben bus. The Ben bus. And we had a great time, actually. I had a lot more fun than I thought I would. Saw some very, very interesting people down there, and people get just way into it. And I think you even alluded to it in the video. The old Woods, like my first Comic-Con bit I ever did 14 years ago, I was kind of a jerk, because I didn't really get it. And I'm telling you, having kids has turned me into a big, giant softie. And as my 2-year-old runs around the house with his Elsa microphone singing, "Let it go, let it go," I find it hard to pick on anybody. And I think to myself, what if that was my kid down there? And I'm not going to do it. And I didn't. And I really had a great time. So it was a lot of fun. Maybe my favorite part. He's going to murder us, but we have to tell the story.
Oh, I was going to bring it up if you didn't.
Yeah. So our friend is Jen Sturger, and she is a stand-up comedian. Unfortunately, she kind of rose to prominence because she was the girl that Brett Favre sent his wiener to. He cell-donged her many, many years ago. She was just out of college trying to make it as I believe she was like a Jets reporter.
Yeah, like a Jets sideline, type of a featurey reporter.
Yeah, and so he says to her, "Hey, you're very attractive. Here's my penis on a camera. Would you like this?" And she's like, "Bro, are you kidding? Like, A, no. B, absolutely not. And you've crossed the line." And that's kind of what she's famous for. Now, we've gotten to know her over the years. And again, she's gone into the world of stand-up. She's very funny and very cool. And she's in the midst of going through a divorce right now. Like, we talked to her last week. So our plan was she's way into Comic-Con, and hadn't brought all of these different costumes and was going to be down there doing stand-up and dressing up and going to the event. So we texted her and we said, "Hey, come out and do some content with us." She said, "I'd love to." By the time we got down there, she goes, "Oh my God, I'm stuck in La Jolla. I think I'm going to miss you guys." I said, "Okay, bummer." So we wrap up all the content that we need to get. And then we're all like, back teeth are floating. Let's hit the head before we get back to the station. So we all go to the bathroom together. Me, Ben, Paul, and Adam. You guys let me know if I'm forgetting anything.
No, I think you've got the story pretty accurate.
Spot on
so
right
far.
now.
It was a bit creepy as I was in a Pikachu costume, and a man in a kilt next to me looked over at me and said, "Now you're a real Pikachu," because I was going to pee. And I went, "Dude, please leave me alone," as I'm standing.
I was not the man in the kilt.
I was literally holding it. And he looked over and was, "Now you're a real Pikachu."
Pikachu. I get it.
What if I had been in the stall? Would I have been a poop-kachu? Poop-kachu. So I said,
a poopazor.
I just go, "Hey, cool, man. Have a good one." And I zipped up and ran out of there as fast as I could. So we
it's
all
nice that the costume had a little zip, though.
It did. It had an opening.
Yeah.
So then we start to walk out to the van, and the van's parked down in front of the Hyatt. And we're walking down the van, just thinking like, okay, Paulie's going to put all that together. It's going to look great. Going to take it to the house for the weekend. All of a sudden,
I don't even want to hear it.
All of a sudden, Adam, our boss Adam, goes, "Hey, I think that might be Jen Sturger over there." So we all turn our heads to the left, and there's a woman.
It's at the valet, the roundabout.
At the valet, the roundabout. There's a woman.
Like 30 yards away.
Oh, easily.
40 yards
40
away.
yards
yeah,
away.
40 yards away.
By the way, her back is to us, and she's
She's-
bending over, getting stuff out of her trunk.
Right.
All of her things that she had bought.
Yoga pants, a jacket, and a hat and sunglasses.
Correct. By the way, no one could see the sunglasses because all we saw was her from behind. And we turned, and he goes, I think that might be Jen Sturger. And I go, well, how would you know? Sure as ass, she turns around.
I was like, maybe it could
Maybe.
be.
She turns around.
I go, hey, Jen. I just kind of wait and see if
Yeah.
they turn around. She did.
She did. And she walked up, and she's like, oh, my God, hi, guys. She goes, how did you recognize me? I go, he did. She said, from behind? And I said, uh-huh. She goes, oh, he subscribes. And I was done. Done. And I almost passed out from laughing. He's like, what? I just took a shot. And I'm like,
Yeah.
dude,
Okay, buddy.
that's unbelievable.
It's next level.
He-
Next level.
Next level.
Creepy.
He recognized her from behind. She didn't have any makeup on. She wasn't dressed in costume or anything like that. He basically looked at her butt and said, oh, I've seen that one before. And that was that. So we went home.
She texted me like an hour later. She
was
goes,
like,
I'm still
laughing.
screaming,
Oh, yeah.
laughing. She goes, just let him know that's the highest compliment anyone's ever
Yeah.
given me.
Yeah, giant weirdo creep. Adam
Oh, I
Kluger, our
recognize
boss.
you from
Just
behind.
incredible. Just an incredible experience. Really made it made the comment. And now, had we got that on film,
That would
he wanted a viral video that would have gone viral.
Oh,
But we had a great time. I learned about Ben and his Hot Wheels thing when he was a kid. If you missed the video, you can go see it on YouTube. You search Ben and Woods. Polly put it up there. Ben, tell everybody what you used to do when you were a kid.
I, like most kids, I had some Hot Wheels cars, but unlike most kids, I wasn't into racing them around.
Yeah,
like,
the
you know,
tracks.
yeah,
and stuff.
the tracks and stuff. I like to create my own parking lots, and my mom, she would take a big piece of butcher paper and create like line spaces all over the place, and I would carefully park them all very neatly in their rows so I could have a nice full parking lot of Hot Wheels cars.
Why the wax paper?
Butcher paper. It's like just so you could draw lines.
Okay, draw
on
lines
yeah.
on it. Yeah, you don't want to do that like on the kitchen table. Or
Exactly.
anything.
So somewhere
then
we
would
could drive
you-
parking spaces.
That would just, you put it on the table, draw the lines, and you would slowly
slowly move them right
And
into
then
their spot, and then
back one
nice and evenly apart from the line, so they'd be
a nice
very- yeah.
park job.
very nice and uniform all the way through the entire parking
And
lot.
how many would you reckon you had?
Oh, I probably had 100 to 200 Hot Wheels cars.
And
yeah.
you would just have one big giant
one
parking lot.
giant parking lot.
What was
cars.
the I guess the fascination with having a parking lot?
I think I always liked the order, the neatness and the order
Yeah.
of it. Just it appealed to some. There's some part of me, even
That
as a
liked it.
child, that liked things that were lined up neatly in rows.
Okay.
I've always kind of been that way.
But you never
I like
wanted
rows.
to. I like rows.
yeah, no,
I like nice
lo-
parked rows of cars.
I also enjoyed the Hot Wheels car wash, so they could be nice and clean. So they
That's
go through
amazing.
they go through
Through
the
the
whole,
wash.
yeah, through the wash. I had the whole set where you drive it through and you put a little water in,
Yeah.
and then it would sprinkle the water on, and you go through the spinning cycle and the drying cycle, and then you go through, and then you take the clean car and you park it in the parking lot nice and neatly.
And then once all the cars were parked, done.
That was done.
Done
Yeah,
for the
that was-
day.
That was it. Yeah, we
really-
accomplished our goal.
It's really sweet, actually. It's very cute and it's very sweet. My kids do the, hey, we're crashing off of a cliff. We're going to burn to death in a fire at the bottom of this cliff.
I think that's more normal actually than what I did. So
You take yours, I'll take mine. We'll go as hard as we can at each other and see who dies first. Is what my kids are doing almost every day and night, man. Oh,
Tommy boy.
yeah.
You guys in the corner puke his guts out.
That's exactly right. We had
my God.
we had such a nice time on Friday night. I had to give a shout out to this guy. I'm hard to surprise, really, at the end of the day. My wife surprised the absolute hell out of me Friday night. We were supposed to do our birthday dinner, just the two of us. We had the sitter and everything. And I had told you in the car, Ben, on the way out to Comic-Con, I said, We're eating at Valentina tonight, which is a place in Lucadia. And I'd been wanting to go there. You'd raved about it. And I just never had the opportunity to go. We finally got a sitter. And so we were going to do birthday dinner at Valentina. So we get in the car, we get all dressed, and we start driving. And my wife gets on the 5 and starts heading north. And I go, where are you heading? And she goes, shut up. And I go, Lucadia, all you got to do is it's right down the street. And she goes, just shut up. I'm begging you, just shut your mouth. And I said, okay. And we pull up to this restaurant called the Polo Steakhouse. Carlsbad. It's like next to an office park. It's really unassuming. There's a gas station.
Cannon Road, right there.
Yeah, Cannon Road.
Yeah.
There's right next to us a gas station. And we pull up and I go, what's going on? And she goes, I have a surprise for you. And I said, okay. So we walked in. Guy says, Mr. Woods, Mrs. Woods, come on in. We got you all set up. I said, what the hell is happening? Bring us back to a booth, have drinks there for us, ready to go. And one of our tier ones, culinary conspirator, Chef Ryan Gilbert, had been in contact with my wife and said, I want to do something cool for Woods for his birthday. And it was like, I've never had this before. I'm sure you do this once a week when you were a kid, but
Ben calls this Wednesday.
Ben's is Wednesday night. I've never had this before in my life. He brought out all these foods. He goes, there is no menu tonight. I'm going to bring stuff and you eat it.
Like a tasting
menu.
Yeah.
And I went,
chef's table.
And I went, oh my God. I've always wanted to do this. Thank you again to my wife and Chef and Foster for helping push this through, our buddy. And he brought out stuff, dude, that was second to none. And I got to try escargot for the first time, and it was delicious.
Ooh.
Some scallops in mole with risotto. It was unbelievable. And he brought out steaks and desserts, and I felt so loved for my birthday. I was so touched by the whole thing. So thank you guys for that. Thank you to my wife and of course my other wife, Foster, for making that happen. But it was unbelievable. It was truly, truly incredible. It was a great experience. The food was spectacular. The creations were ungodly.
I'm glad you did it. And for anyone who hasn't taken that opportunity, it's can be a very rare treat to do something like that. And I know a lot of people are afraid because when they go, especially when they're going to spend money at a restaurant, they want to get what they like. Hey,
stands to reason.
I'm only going to be here once. I want to get exactly what I want on the menu that looks perfect. And while that's great, what I found is occasionally when you are pushed out of your comfort zone to eat something that you might not have ordered, like I would have never ordered this in a million years, ends up being like the best thing, like the best experience, a new taste that you've never had before. And it is so fun. And it really adds to an incredible dining experience. If you're in good hands, if you're in the hands of a great chef.
Because how often do you get adventurous when you're out at a nice restaurant?
Dude,
you're paying 40, 50, $60 a plate.
The reason you don't want to get adventurous is because you're like, what if this is $70 and it sounds great and it gets here and it tastes like,
right? You're like,
dude, I don't want this.
Like that.
I know I like this. Dude, if I go to a nice, expensive restaurant, it's almost boring where you're like,
give me the pork chop.
I'll have the steak, medium rare. I'll do the garlic smashed potatoes, the asparagus, and I'll do the creme brulee for dessert. I'll have a glass of Pinot and an old fashioned. It's standard.
And it's delicious.
It's
but
freaking fantastic.
You'll never expand your horizons at all.
That's exactly right. So with this, I was able to eat escargot. Did you ever think I would sit down and crush escargot? It was phenomenal. This tuna that he made, these scallops he's made, even the salad was unbelievable. So I was I felt special, and it was such a nice feeling to feel special. Then our 5-year-old had a fever and we had to leave a little bit early, so I felt less special then. That's the second birthday in a row, by the way. My last birthday dinner, we went to Ember and Rye. And we were going to go over after and hit balls into they have a golf simulator there. And the sitter called and she's like, yeah, your son has soiled himself and you need to come home. And I said, next year, I go, I don't know. Let's just bang the birthday dinner next year, because clearly Bo is not like when we were out for my birthday dinner. But man, we were there for about 2 hours. It was unbelievable. Had a nice little buzz when I left, a little hangover on Saturday from 2 drinks, by the way. And it was the best food that I'd had. So again, Chef Ryan Gilbert at Polo Steakhouse in Carlsbad, give them a try. He's a wizard. He is a wizard. And if you go to their Instagram, I'll show you some of the stuff we ate. Unbelievable. It was great. So great weekend here. And Padres baseball, they helped a little bit. They always do. Helped a couple days. And just cannot seem to close the deal.
Yeah,
Man.
we'll talk about it. Felt like yesterday, had they won yesterday, I felt like, all right, they're back in the race.
Yes, 100%.
If they had won yesterday,
we'd
now,
send this for 2 weeks.
and now it feels like they're still kind of in that no man's
Doesn't
land.
feel like they're out of the race.
No, they're just in the no man's land again as they come home for a 6-game homestand that starts tonight against the Pittsburgh Pirates. We will talk about the weekend in Detroit, the week coming up in the second half of Ben and Woods. It's Monday, so we'll be joined by Jordan Schusterman from Cespedes Family Barbecue, a grand old barbecue Monday here on Ben and Woods. Always enjoy our conversations with Jordan, what's going on around Major League Baseball. In-season Sam Levitt had another busy week. He will join us at 9:35 to talk some Padres baseball. In and around that, all of our regular features like Take on Woods, Don't Do This, and a daily ditty from, well, last week's birthday boy. Woodsy gets the selection this week, the theme, all coming up next. Glad to have you with us on a Monday morning as we get started here on San Diego's #1 sports station. Let's get our first check of traffic with Kelly and get rolling here on 97.3 The Fan.
Welcome back, Ben and Woods, 97.3 The Fan. My Diddy selection and theme this week. I thought with the fellas returning home to Petco Park tonight to take on Pittsburgh Pirates, Benny, we could celebrate San Diego. That's what it's about, local bands. This is Pinback. The song is Penelope. And local bands, San Diego bands. You're in the news. You'll be fine connecting somebody to San Diego. It's what we all do best. Found myself doing it yesterday with my son. I was watching a music video. I go, oh, you know him? He's from San Diego. I went, oh, my God, what's happened to me?
So bands with someone from San Diego is okay as well. They don't have to technically be
I would do a San Diego
considered
band.
a local band.
I would do a local band. It's not hard.
It's harder than you think.
It's not.
For me.
It's just like, go to Google.
Right.
You'll find somebody.
I know, but I don't know any of their music.
That's an opportunity to learn.
Start listening to lots of songs.
Do you never
come up with one?
Do you never hear somebody and go, I'm interested to know more? Or do you ever think, I've been hearing about for 30 years. I'm going to put on, do you have Spotify?
I do have Spotify.
Yeah. So you never, I know you're busy. You just spend a lot of time in the
rarely
car.
listen to music.
I know.
I'm not a music listener. I know it's weird.
But you can be. It's never too late.
I know.
Is what I'm saying. You like music.
I do like music.
I'm very bad at listening to new music. I'm much more likely to listen to an album that came out 20 years ago that I love.
That's kind of what I'm saying. Like, that's not new. That's old as hell. What I'm saying is, let's say you look through the list of San Diego bands and you went, that's an interesting name. I'm going to go check it. I do that all the time. It's weird. My tastes have changed. The older I get, my tastes have changed tremendously. I'm listening to things now that I never liked. And not only listening to them, I'm getting in my way into things I never listened to before. People that I was kind of slag off even. I'm like, I don't really like Lou Reed. That guy's kind of a D. And now I'm listening to Lou Reed and Velvet Underground. I didn't ever listen to 9 Inch Nails ever. I missed it. It was not me at the time. Now I can't get enough. My kids are like, all right, Dad, are you okay? Why do you keep listening to Trent Reznor? Like, what's your problem? Are you depressed? And I just can't get enough of it. So I feel like I'm grateful because I went back and tried, and then I've discovered something I never would have really listened to.
For me, it's kind of daunting, and this is on me.
It's daunting on me too.
You know, I look at a band that I don't know anything about, and then a list of songs that mean nothing to me just from the name of the song, and then you can I'll start listening to one, but you really have to listen to all
three or four.
Most of it, 3 or 4. But by then, now that's 15 to 20 minutes just on one band, and then you want to do that 2 or 3, then all of a sudden, an hour, 2 hours has gone by.
But you know what you just did? You just immersed yourself and lost yourself in the music.
Yes, but I don't have time to lose myself really in a lot.
If you have time to listen to a podcast about a golf ball, then you have time to listen to somebody from San Diego. I like to make you discover new things, just like you do for me. You do the same thing for me. You challenge me in other ways. That's my challenge to you.
All right, well, this week I guess I've got to try it.
Yeah, little challenge.
Find some local bands.
I mean, play Blink 182 for all. It's that's what you do.
Yeah, but then 2 hours has gone by, and you said you could have gone to a movie and spent all that time watching a movie. And I feel like I'm the only person who didn't go to a movie. Did either of you guys go to a movie this weekend?
Nope.
Because all I saw in my timeline, everyone went to either Oppenheimer or Barbie
or both,
or Mission Impossible or all of them. Yeah, both did unbelievable, record-breaking openings this weekend, and it felt like every movie theater in America was just packed this week. And my son wanted to go, and he showed me a theater 2:15 a.m. sold out on Friday morning, just so everyone could see the first showing of Oppenheimer, and people going to double features. And boy, it was a movie weekend around America. It certainly felt that way.
I would go. I mean, I want to see them, but I'm not seeing Oppenheimer in a theater. I'm just not. I'm not doing.
It's an all-day affair for me.
I'm not doing 3.5 hours sitting in one spot. I'm going to do an hour, and then I'm going to take a breather.
They say that the theater with the full audio is the way to experience it.
You know what? I've heard that about 1,000 movies, and you know what? They're fine at home. The way our TVs are now and our sounds.
They never advertise the movie. This is one you can probably wait to see at home.
Sit really close to the TV. Boom. giant big screen.
It'd be like us getting on the radio and be like, listen, there's a lot of ways you can consume Ben and Woods. Really, though, the only way you want to do it is sitting in traffic in your car on your car stereo. No, people like to watch it on YouTube. They like to listen to a podcast later. A lot of people don't catch us live. It's my favorite because they'll hit me up and be like, I can't believe you guys didn't talk about this. I'm like, are you listening? Did you listen? Well, I'm on the first hour. I'm like, get to the second hour, and we do. You turd. Give me listen to the whole thing, and then come hit me with your criticisms after. So there you go.
My wife went and saw Barbie, and she
too.
said I think it was about 2 hours, and she loved it. Loved it.
Oh,
and
loved
everybody I know that saw it said it was one of their favorite movies they've seen in years.
Made a ton of dough.
She was like, it was 2 hours. It was pretty long. I'm like, all right, so I will be watching Oppenheimer by myself, because if you thought 2 hours was long, can I interest you in a damn near 4-hour movie?
Yeah, in Oppenheimer, as good as it probably is, gives me a little bit of Irishman vibes in that it's going to be a little bit of a slow, I don't even want to say burn based on the content matter of it, but it's going to be a bit of a grind, I would say, to get through it. With somebody with a severe ADHD, I'm me sitting with my legs crossed and my hand on my chin watching a 4-hour jaunt is going to be really tough.
Julian says went to watch Barbie yesterday, and I could hear the bomb going off in Oppenheimer for the theater besides mine. Insanely excited to watch that one. Got tickets for the Chinese theater yesterday. I've been to the Chinese theater up there in Hollywood. Yeah,
people were posting videos of them inside of the theater watching Barbie, and all you just hear is boom, like just sound effects and explosions from theater 3 rooms down, and they're like, oh yeah, that's Oppenheimer, because they got multiple screenings going at the same time.
I need to
crazy. It's like sold out for weeks.
I need to do that. Those at home, probably. I'm a big homebody, as you know. So let's get into it, fellas. Let's get into it. We have to unfortunately start with yesterday's just game against.
We don't have to, but I do like sticking with the theme, with how we do it, our format.
Friday and Saturday's so fun.
Yeah.
Yesterday was pretty typical of the last game of several series, and I think even Bob Melvin uses the quote, "We've seen this game before," because we have so many times, just unable to put a run together. This team is allergic to 4 in a row. Allergic, Ben.
We will talk about it in our Padres wrap-up. That is coming up next with Ben and Woods. Don't go away. It's San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. All guests on Ben and Woods appear on the Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline. Save money the right way with Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad. Visit them today in the Carlsbad Auto Mall. Chevrolet, find new roads. Guests come up in the second half of the show today. Jordan Schusterman on a grand old Monday from Cespedes Family Barbecue will join us at 8:35. Sam Levitt at 9:35. I don't think it's going to take long to wrap up yesterday's game. There's a few things to talk about, but essentially the story is a familiar one and a tired one for your San Diego Padres.
I'll say this, for winning 2 out of 3 and not having a winning or a losing road trip, going 5-5, Bob Melvin was pretty pissed yesterday.
For Bob, yes.
Like as pissed off as we've heard him in a while.
That's what to listen for coming up here on our Padres wrap-up.
That and I want
to fired up, a little angry Bob Melvin after the game, for sure.
I want to tell you, Benjamin, about the negative impact you're having on the youth of San Diego. My son yesterday, we watched the game and it ended. And my son says to me, well, at least we won the series. And I went, I got Ben at work and I got Ben at home. I go, this is unbelievable. This is the negative impact that you're having on San Diego's youth right now.
Again, you win 2 out of 3. If you win 2 out of 3 all season, you're the best team.
Dada, if I would have told you that the Padres would go on a 10-game, 3-series road trip and come back 5-5, you would take that, wouldn't you?
I'm looking at him going, are you out of your mind? Guy with an 8 ERA just held us to 1 hit over like 6 innings. Little Ben at home. This is amazing.
They needed to win that game yesterday. Even Big Ben says
Big Ben
they needed to win that game yesterday. We will wrap it up after this traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
From the Premier Kia of Carlsbad Traffic Center, part of the Premier Auto family, here's Kelly Tannick.
So far, looks like folks are doing a pretty good job of staying out of trouble on our freeways, guys. Got no incidents, no accidents to mention, no surprises. Getting reports of some patchy fog here and there around the county, but doesn't seem to be really causing any problems. I'm Kelly Danik with Ben and Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
It's a shame if they lose.
You can visit Pity City, but you can't live there.
Oh, it's been a great day today. Can't wait for more.
Hey guys, it's Woodsy live from the Crapper again.
Did you miss any of the Padres game yesterday?
Cancel the parade. That's why you play the games.
Oh, God, here we go.
It's the Padres wrap-up with Ben and Woods.
Slam Diego? More like fail Diego.
Presented by Hamul Casino. With thrilling slots and tables and all the best rewards, Hamul Casino has all the fun you're looking for. Hamul Casino, fun above all else. On 97.3 The Fan.
I just felt the way that the roster is built, they would have to outscore their opponents to win.
Base is empty, 2 outs, and the 3-2 hit in the air to deep left. Soto going back at the wall. It's going to go. A home run for Spencer Torkelson. That's his team leading 15th of the season. And the Tigers take a 1-0 lead here in the first. Eric Haas on deck, and then top of the order, McKinstry. And first pitch swinging, Ibanez hits one a mile to left field. No doubter up over the old wall here in Detroit. And home run number 7 on the season for Ibanez. Tigers batted on. It's 2-0. Here's the 0-1. And that's sharply on one hop out to Kim. It gets underneath his glove into right field. Tatis charges. Green's on his way home. The throw to the plate. Oh, they had him, but Sanchez lost the baseball. I think when Gary went to apply the swipe tag to Riley Green, the ball just kind of squirted out of his catcher's mitt, and it ended up out in front of home plate. Certainly appeared that he would have been out. No, Sanchez lines it sharply into right field. Carpenter in, has to play it on a hot. Bogarts rounding third, on his way. Here's the throw to the plate, not in time. And Gary Sanchez brings home the first Padre run of the day. An RBI single here in the top of the 7th inning, and it's 3-1. 2-2. Here's the pitch. Sanchez swings, skies it in shallow center. Long run, Vierling. He's coming on. The center fielder gets there, and he makes the catch to end the ball game. Tigers survive this one and win it 3-1. Padres win the series. They take 2 out of 3, and this very long road trip will conclude with Padres going 5-5 against the Phillies, the Blue Jays, and the Tigers.
We've seen this game before, and these are key games. This is a key game today to go out with, a little bit more fire. Now, look, when you don't hit, it doesn't look great, but I just felt like we should have done a little more damage.
Yeah, I mean, that was a disappointed Bob Melvin, but he was a little feisty after the game as well. Even he understands that his team needs to win when they go up against pitchers who are basically emergency starters with 7+ ERAs going into the game after you just scored 14 runs. Looks like every guy on your team is pretty much locked into the lineup. I mean, you're thinking, hey, they might score 20 today against this guy.
My thought was, this poor guy. This poor guy was my thought when I saw what the Tigers were doing. And then when I watched him throw a couple of fastballs that actually had arc on them. They looked like they had arc on them. And I don't mean they were spinning. I just mean he didn't throw very hard. Did not have any sort of dominating stuff whatsoever. And you look at that and go, I don't get it. I don't get it. I shouldn't be surprised, guys. That's the thing I think that surprises me is that people are surprised. We shouldn't be surprised. This is who this team has revealed themselves to be. They are allergic to putting the hammer down. They are allergic to taking a team's soul. They are allergic to winning more than 2 games in a row. I mean, they've done 3 a couple of times. Not much.
I think they have 4 or 5 3-game winning streaks.
Right, and that's it. No 4-game, and really hard to win 4 when you have a hard time winning 3. And it just, I don't know why we're all that surprised. I saw a lot of finger pointing yesterday, as there usually is after a game like that. Matt Carpenter certainly probably his tenure needs to go. That means you're probably left with the Taylor Cole way, or one of those guys filling in the DH spot, or a mix of whoever's left on the bench. But you've gotten rid of Nelly Cruz, you've gotten rid of Odor, you've cut some guys. Matt Carpenter's making a lot of dough, probably why he's getting the extended chance. But I'm sorry, man. Like, yes, you can blame Matt Carpenter. That's true. But also true is that Xander, Manny, Soto, and Tatis got 1 hit in 14 at-bats yesterday against that guy. Look, there's a reason those guys all make $25 to $30 million a year, or eventually will in Tatis's case. There's a reason. That's why they make the money, to take rookie pitchers with 7 or 8 ERAs and eat their lunch for them. That's it. Yes, Matt Carpenter had an opportunity to get a run in here and there. Trent Grisham had an opportunity. Jake Cronenworth had an opportunity. A lot of guys had opportunities. Gary Sanchez had an opportunity. He did account for our only run yesterday. But holy crap, guys. When Manny, Xander, Tatis, and Soto get 1 hit, you're not winning many ball games. You're just not.
A lot of people thought it was a managerial lineup malpractice not to have Luis Campusano somewhere in there after his 4-hit home run outburst on Saturday. Now, I certainly don't mind not having him behind the plate. After he caught both Friday and Saturday, I would have been shocked if he was back there again for a day game. Very early start on a Sunday after a night game the day before. That's why you have 2 catchers on your roster. And Gary Sanchez did drive in the only run of the game yesterday. The question would be, would you use a right-handed bat as a designated hitter against a right-handed starting pitcher?
Sure, I think you could. In that guy's case, the guy that threw 91 and didn't really have a lot. I mean, I watched the game. I didn't see much from him that I went, oh, okay, I get it, man. Like, I get why the Tigers are high on this guy. I get why he's got really nasty stuff. He just has bad control. I didn't get that. I didn't feel like he was, he reminded me of, to be honest with you, reminded me of like a bigger Nabil Krismat. I was watching kind of like a thumber in there, just working, cutting through our lineup like a knife through butter yesterday. And that was the most frustrating part for me. That's a guy that they should be able to handle, and especially the top of the order that makes the lion's share of the rake. Those guys got to come through yesterday, period, the end. You don't put it on Matt Carpenter yesterday. You don't. That is Xander, Manny, Juan, and Fernando, period. That's why they combined $200 million between them. They got 1 knock. I mean, come on. That's where the blame has to fall.
Joe Musgrove, 6 innings, 3 runs. While I would have said not quite up to Joe's recent standards in terms of effectiveness, I really would have thought that would have been enough to get the win for the Padres in the game yesterday. I didn't think Joe needed to pitch the game of his life to beat the Detroit Tigers and finish off the sweep. Really didn't even pitch that badly. I mean, he got ambushed a couple of times, one by Spencer Torkelson on a full count pitch in the first inning, and then Andy Ibanez, the first pitch of the third inning, both solo home runs, gave up the one other RBI single. That was it. I mean,
quality start, right?
It was quality start. He wasn't bad by any stretch of the imagination. I think what hurts so badly, though, is you look back, Padres go 5-5 on the road trip. They lost both a Joe Musgrove and a Blake Snell start, though, during that road trip.
Yes.
And those are the ones that you really feel like you let get away. When you have two, maybe the two hottest starting pitchers in the National League going, and you can't find a way to win those games. I mean, imagine what a 7-3 road trip looks like now. Padres coming back at 500, Padres coming back, 3 games out of a wild card. All you have to do is win those 2 games, and you've completely changed the course of your season. And it's not asking for a miracle to have the 2 hottest starting pitchers in baseball go out and, find a way to win those games. I mean, it really isn't. And that's, I think, to me, what's so frustrating. Bob Melvin was asked about the entirety of the 10-game road trip after the game yesterday.
Yeah, you know what? We're way past trips and series. It's all about winning games. Today was a key game for us. We win this game, and then whatever, the whole road trip, whenever it started, looks a lot better than it did losing today's game.
Just you could just tell the frustration in his voice.
Yeah.
And that was a long trip. East Coast, doubleheader, early morning start yesterday. That was a long trip, and I'm sure the team was very anxious, antsy to get home, ready to be back, but you got to finish it out. You got to follow through in that last game and find a way to get some runners on base, put some runs across the plate, and win that game against a team you should kind of be overmatching.
Yeah, no
doubt. It's a pretty disappointing effort at least off the starter. I mean, you got to give him credit. He somehow got us out. Nothing against him, but we got to have a better approach. We got to put more pressure on the starter.
No disrespect to this guy, but he was nothing special,
right.
And we should have lit him up. Is essentially what he was saying. You don't hear that very often from a big league manager.
There's just been so many of these opportunities, and as you continue to drop those opportunities and it continues to stack against you, it just makes the hole deeper and deeper and deeper. They left 10 days ago or whatever, and they're really in no better position.
I disagree. While they are still 6 games out of a playoff spot, which is where they were at the All-Star break, there are a bunch of teams that have really collapsed. They now have 3 spots they're chasing because they're 6.5 games out of the wild card lead. And don't underestimate what a big difference that makes.
Well, I mean, thank God for it, man.
When you're
thank God for the
Marlins.
I hear what you're saying.
The Marlins, the Giants, the Giants have lost 5 in a row. The Marlins have just snapped an 8-game skid yesterday. The Diamondbacks have lost 4 in a row. I mean, these teams have made it absolutely possible for the Padres to come back. They're now chasing 3 playoff spots versus just 1. And to me, that's a bigger deal than shaving 1 or 2 games off than being 5 or 4.5 back. To actually have 3 chances now, like you don't need one team to collapse. You can have one of 3 teams start coming back to the pack, and you can almost expect that at least 1 or 2 of those teams going to struggle a little bit coming down the stretch. It's very unlikely that every team holding a playoff spot right now, they're all going to play well, which gives you a much better chance if you play decent baseball of making up ground quickly. So I would say the Padres are at actually a significantly better position, despite only going 5-5 than when they left on this road trip.
I'll give you better. I won't give you significantly. Yeah. I mean, significantly would have been, as you just mentioned, the 7-3 trip, get back to 500, the elusive 500 mark. I feel like when it happens, if it happens ever, let's rage. Like, let's throw a massive, how they do the Bronx cheer? They did it to Matt Manning in Detroit on Saturday, and we'll get to Saturday's game, but he came out and he threw, what is it? He threw 8 balls in a row. Yeah. We didn't score a run in that inning, but 8 balls in a row. He finally throws the 9th pitch for a strike, and Detroit erupts. When this team gets to 500, I say we have a parade. I say we have a mini parade around the parking lot here at Granite Ridge and pop champagne, because 500 has eluded this team since when? April, May, something. I mean, it's been a long, long time. small victories here, guys. Let's start handling our business. And yes, you're still in it. You're absolutely still in it. You're still mentioned in. I talked to Paulie on the phone yesterday about today's show, and he goes, I must be insane because I feel like if we just get in, we're in like the best shape of anybody in the playoffs with the starting pitching we have, with guys that are coming back. I feel pretty good about our chances in the playoffs. I said, call me a moron too. I do too. But you got to get there, and you have to fight and claw to
But
get
the
there.
question is it not, could they come back? Because they absolutely could. The question is it realistic enough that you want to go out and spend more prospect capital to try to make a deal at the trade deadline? Do you feel comfortable in not trading away anybody?
That begs the question, though, Benny.
Because we're just 1 week and 1 day away from the trade deadline.
It's a week from tomorrow. If that's how you're feeling, Paulie, and that's how I'm feeling, and I think there's probably a lot of Padre fans, too, that said, all right, put us in the playoffs and let us see what we can do, right? You like the lineup in the playoffs?
If you're in the playoffs, it's because the offense started to click.
Right.
So you don't check, right?
No, but I'm just saying.
And then you look at the pitching.
You look at our pitching, you look at the back end of our bullpen.
What killed us last year? Not having a fourth starter. We've got 5 quality starters if everyone is healthy.
And so now you look at it and go, yeah, I want to see what this team can do in October. I want to see what that looks like.
I need it.
Right. That's a great time to play your best baseball. So in my mind, with a week and a day left, and of course there's games that we got to play in between that will dictate how that mood changes. But as of today, I look at what I saw Friday, I look at what I saw Saturday, and I go, nobody beats this team in the playoffs. You get pitching like that and offense like that, nobody beats us. I don't know.
We will talk about that best baseball coming up, the games earlier in the series. Don't forget, if you're not able to watch Padres games this week, listen to live play-by-play from 97.3 The Fan, free on the Odyssey app. Download Odyssey today to get started. Blackouts apply. Come back, talk about the Luis Campusano game, and play a little Take on Woods, all coming up next year on The Fan. Saturday's game wasn't just good for the lopsided final score, Woods, 14-3 over the Tigers. It also was something that I've been looking for the Padres to do for a very long time, and that is come from behind to win a game. And I actually went and looked it up that morning when they fell behind 3-0 with Jackson Wolf on the mound during the rain delay in the second inning. I went to see, okay, when's the last time the Padres have come from behind to win a game in which they trailed by more than one run? The last time they had done it with just a one-run deficit at the end of an inning.
Yeah.
And that means, like, hey, if one team scores in the top of the first, but you score in the bottom, you're not totally behind yet. It was June 18th. But the last time the Padres had rallied from at least 2 runs down, all the way back on May 30th against the Miami Marlins. That's crazy in a baseball season to go
very much
to go almost 2 months without rallying to win a game down at least 2. That you see that happen on a nightly basis around baseball. There will always be 2 or 3 games every single night in which one team takes a 2-3-0 lead, the other team comes back and wins.
Yeah,
that's just baseball. That's how it happens. It's almost impossible not to fall into a game or two like that over the course of a couple of weeks. Yet the Padres had never come back from a deficit like that for nearly 2 months. And then, of course, they answer back immediately out of the rain delay in the top of the third with 4 runs, including the Manny Machado go-ahead 3-run home run in the top of the third inning. And then they just pile on after that, run after run after run, end up scoring 14 in the 14-3 win. Huge game for Luis Campusano, 4 for 5 with a 3-run homer.
He's got 2 of the 3 4-hit games for the San Diego Padres this season. Luis Campusano. It's fantastic. You guys been up, 2 weeks maybe.
It was a terrific game, and Jackson Wolf gave the Padres exactly what they needed. When Matt Manning had to leave the game after the hour and 24-minute rain delay, and the Padres got to experience the underside of that Detroit Tigers bullpen, the Tigers were probably thinking, well, maybe we get the same advantage, but Wolf went back out there and after giving up the quick 2 runs on his first batter out of the rain delay, locked it down, finished 5 innings, preserved the bullpen, and let the Padres offense go to town against the Detroit Tigers. It was a gutsy, enjoyable first Major League Baseball appearance by Jackson Wolf. To get the win in his MLB debut was a very cool experience, I'm sure, for that kid.
Yeah, it was. I mean, what do you guys think about what you saw out of him? I think the lack of swing and miss in this day and age, that's tough, but there are guys that are able to get through by using their defense as he did, by pitching to contact as he did. It's kind of a starter of a foregone era, and I believe that. I do. But I really loved what I saw. I mean, the guy went out and pounded the zone and had that long delay and came out and he earned his first Major League Baseball win. Nobody will ever be able to take that away from him. I thought that was really cool. But, do you look at him, Ben, and go, yeah, Matt, huge part of the rotation for years to come?
No, I look at him, and I don't want this to sound like an insult, but it feels like his ceiling is a bottom of the rotation kind of guy.
Yeah, which is fine. You need those guys.
You need a 4th or 5th starter.
No question.
Guys who can go out, pitch to contact, eat some innings, get some weak contact during the game. I never see him as being a dominant guy. 8 innings, 7 strikeouts, 1 run.
Who is this day? Who is these day and age? He's not 8
like
innings.
But no, he's not 8 innings. But Joe Musgrove can be that, when 7 innings at least. To me, when you can't strike out a good deal of batters in Major League Baseball, eventually the other team's going to luck into some runs. When the ball goes into play, some days they just find holes. Some days it goes against you, and it looks really ugly when you can't strike guys out. Other days, you get some double play grounders. You're efficient. You can work deep into the game. It's great. But the ceiling on those guys is always going to be, ERA somewhere in the 4s, around maybe 500 record. Hey, good season, 12-9,
sure.
4.3 ERA. That's not bad. Teams, like you said, they need guys like that.
No doubt.
I don't know that Jackson Wolf is someone who's going to be able to exceed that tremendously, though, on the big league level.
And you never know, still young, and there's still room to grow and get better. That being said, it was much needed by him, Benny. The Padres' spot starters this year were, before Saturday, 2-9 with a 5.73 in 17 starts. So Jackson Wolf comes in and adds at least one more dub to that. Padres number 16 prospect, 4th-round draft pick. I liked watching him. I liked watching him pitch. It didn't seem super nervous. Loved his post game stuff with the guys as well. Just seems to have a good head on his shoulders. Always cool seeing his family and
that was my
get a win.
That was my favorite part. The family just almost looked like it was torture.
Minus the almost. It's absolutely horrific.
It's like me watching Paulie's eagle putt.
Yeah,
the other day
last week,
Aviara when we played with Adam Jones. Just I can't watch this. This is torturous, but he made it through, and good for him. And it's just when the Padres needed it. I mean, that was. That's the reason, the big reason why the Padres haven't been able to put together 4-game winning streaks is that they 2-9 on those spot start games. Well, even if you're going well and all your other starters come through, that next guy is always going to, reset you back to 0 because they haven't been able to get good starts from the 5th guy. Getting that win all of a sudden told me, all right, here it comes. Here comes the winning streak, because now you don't have to worry about that 5th starter. You got 4 straight games with your top guys going. This is a great chance for the Padres to maybe win 6 in a row right now. And of course, what happens, yesterday's game happens, and the offense goes silent in that 3-1 loss.
And I don't know that Luis Campusano would have come in and gotten 4 more hits yesterday. We'll never know. I do tend to think at this time of the year, Ben, we asked Bob Melvin about this on Friday. He wanted to get Ha-Seong Kim a day. That day when we needed him, we ended up losing that game. Can ride the hot hand, maybe. You can cover your ass, right, by riding the hot hand. You absolutely can cover. Why was Campy in the lineup? He went 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts. He caught the last 2 games, and it was an early game. Well, he had 4 knocks the night before, including a home run, and we need some guys that can slug the baseball. You can cover your ass. There was a reason he wasn't in the lineup. I don't think we know what it was. I know he's fresh off the IL, too. Maybe the hand's bothering him. Maybe he's cramped up from the night before. Again, the turnaround was ungodly. It was ungodly for us. We played golf yesterday morning. I go, Jesus, God, the game's starting right now. I mean, it was an early turnaround, so I guess I don't mind. But again, you shouldn't need Luis Campusano and Matt Carpenter to come through on a day like yesterday on a guy with an 8 ERA. Your top 4 guys get 1 knock.
Need a contestant for Take on Woods. We're about a minute or 2 away, so call right now. Chance to qualify for a trip to Las Vegas. Our musical trivia game with Woodsy is just moments away. 833-288-0973. Dial now, 833-288-0973. You can hop to the front of the line, get a chance to open the week by taking on Woods. There is one, I know Paulie had this bone to pick because he texted it to us, and I think it was absolutely right. One complaint from the whole weekend had nothing to do with the team in particular, but when you have a series in which one game on Friday is on Apple TV Plus, and then Saturday's game is streaming MLB.com and the Padres produce channels, and then Sunday is on Peacock, it's a little difficult to, even for a experienced baseball fan who loves their team, to totally keep track and subscribe to everything. I mean, even we got back from golf and it was the middle of the game. I just decided they were already down. I just listened to Jesse. I didn't subscribe to Peacock for the last 5 innings. So
I don't know that there's anyone that's super surprised. On the other hand, I paid $6 for that big steaming turd of a game yesterday.
And I got all the highlights later when I went to the TV station.
Canceled it immediately.
I got to see it. I just decided I'm just not going to pay for this.
I already paid for Apple TV. I was down.
I do too.
Yeah, I had that
get
one
it
as
through
well.
Verizon.
Oh, by the way, that trick that Paulie pointed out was genius on Friday. When you can switch to
one
the
of our
radio
listeners
audio,
did, actually. Was one of our listeners.
I knew about it. I told you about this 3 months ago.
We don't listen to you. I know that.
I'm just telling
if you don't know what we're talking about,
no one in here is an active listener, Paulie.
When you're watching that Apple TV game, you can go into like the audio options, the language options, and choose radio broadcast. Now, I'll try to do that sometimes watching on TV, and you can't sync it. It was synced perfectly.
I tried doing that during the playoffs last year.
So, it was a nightmare.
It's a nightmare. Apple figured out a way to sync Jesse and Tony perfectly to the television. So, when the ball hit the mitt, you heard the ball hitting the mitt on the audio. Yeah. It was perfect.
I'm going to tell you something.
I was amazed. I was blown away.
The Apple TV broadcast. Think about your favorite things. It is it's almost too good. You're like, I feel too close. I'm getting too much access. I can see that man's pores. Like he needs to exfoliate more. I can see blackheads on his face. It's staggeringly beautiful. And How do they do that?
It's the good cameras,
quality of the cameras.
Yeah, whatever the 5K or whatever it's called.
That is,
I love the information. I like the probabilities
Me too.
on the corner of the screen.
I think it's brilliant.
It's a top-notch broadcast for sure.
It is. It was an incredible experience.
I don't remember who was up to bat, but somebody 69% chance of a strikeout, and Megan goes, "What are we doing here?" She goes, "Oh wait, never mind, two strikes." Like it, I was like, "Yeah, it changes with every single pitch."
It's so cool.
Like I love the Apple TV broadcast.
It really, yeah. And Ray,
you missed Don and Mud, but at least you get Jesse and Tony.
Ray points out in the chat, Hassan Kim has flawless skin, and I mean absolutely flawless. When Soto hit that bomb and they're following him around, you're like, I'm there. I'm in the stadium right now. It's brilliant. It's so beautiful. So beautiful.
All right, we'll get to Friday's game, the action on the field, another important one coming up at the bottom of the hour. Right now, though, let's play a little Take on Woods. All right, we got Guy calling in today. Good morning, Guy. How are you?
Hey, good morning.
I know you know how to play, so let's get right to it. Here are your categories. Woodsy's gone, but who's counting? All about counting. Today is a good day. 5 song titles beginning with the word good. And is everybody in? Those are 5 musical answers that begin with the word everybody. So, Guy, but who's counting? Today is a good day, or is everybody in?
Let's try who's counting.
Who's counting? All right, Alan's been sitting there for a while. Today's category is all about counting. So, the word, you mix it up a little bit, but think about that in each of the answers today. 60 seconds on the clock. You know the rules. Let's get to it. Your time begins when Paul plays the music. Paul, you ready? I have gone fast. All right, here we go. When the music starts, you need to give me the title and the artist.
It's like, settle down, Turbo.
I know. I'm moving fast here.
We're good.
All right, here we go, Guy. The category, but who's counting? Let's Take on Woods.
Mr. Jones, Counting Crows.
Correct. Which peppy 2013 hit by One Republic spent more than a year on the Billboard Top 100 charts?
Counting Stars.
Correct. In 1996, you might have heard a radio station playing which Dishwalla song, the band's only Top 100 hit?
Tub something number 1 or something like that.
Incorrect. The Statler brothers made the Pulp Fiction soundtrack by counting what in a popular song from 1966?
Pass.
Which arena staple by Swedish band Europe made the cut for ESPN's Jock Jams 2 cassette?
Pass.
The Statler brothers made the Pulp Fiction soundtrack by counting what in a popular song from 1966?
Body.
No, incorrect. And that is all 5 questions. You got the first 2 right, Mr. Jones, by Counting Crows and Counting Stars. Dishwalla's song is Counting Blue Cars. The Statler brothers is Counting Flowers on the Wall. And the final countdown is Europe, and the Jock Jams is what that one's called. So you got 2. Let's see how Woodsy does. Hang on the line there, Guy. Bring Woods back in for the same 5 questions, the same 60 seconds. We don't give him the category. I almost caught Paul. I just went so fast. I almost got him. He wasn't ready yet. I went so fast today. I'm trying to move along here. You ready, Woods?
I'm
all right, 60 seconds.
Hurry
on
up.
the
Let's
clock.
go.
I'm ready.
Let's take on Guy. Let's play.
It's Mr. Jones by Counting Crows.
Correct. Which peppy 2013 hit by One Republic spent more than a year on the Billboard Top 100 charts?
Apologize?
Incorrect. In 1996, you might have heard a radio station playing which Dishwalla song, the band's only Top 100 hit?
No, this is going to kill me. Pass.
The Statler brothers made the Pulp Fiction soundtrack by counting what in a popular song from 1966?
I knew the category so bad. Pass. Crap.
Which arena staple by Swedish band Europe made the cut for ESPN's
Final countdown?
Correct. Let's go back to which, in 1996, you might have heard a radio station playing which Dishwalla song, the band's only Top 100
Counting
hit?
Blue Cars.
Correct. The Statler brothers made the Pulp Fiction soundtrack by counting what in a popular song from 1966?
He's nuts.
No, but you got 3, and that
figured it
just
out.
sneaks out the victory.
Oh.
Counting Flowers on the Wall is the song by the Statler brothers, and Counting Stars was the One Republic song you didn't get, but you did pull out the victory over Guy today by a 3-2 score.
Thank God I got that Dishwalla song.
You had to come back. You
not
got the
bad,
category, and then you got the Dishwalla song.
It's not that bad of a song.
And that got you the victory today on Take on Woods. Very good. All right, Don't Do This is coming up next. Oh, you are.
Found.
I didn't know you were so
We've
excited.
been waiting for Don't Do This
Since Friday.
I don't know, noon on Friday.
Noon on Friday is when I sent this to Paulie. It's actually going to infuriate you that he makes so much more money than we will ever make.
All right, that is coming up next with Ben and Woods. We'll be right back after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
do this.
It's time for Don't Do This.
What were you thinking?
3 stories from the world of sports that make us all shake our heads.
Why? How many times do I have to tell you?
I'm sorry, I fudged up, guys.
You idiot, you moron.
Dumbass.
The apple sometimes does fall from the tree.
Don't Do This
Do not tweet that.
with Ben and Woods
I like a Nickelback song or two.
on 97.3 The Fan.
All guests on Men and Woods appear on the Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline. Save money the right way with Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad. Visit them today in the Carlsbad Auto Mall. Chevrolet, find new roads. All right, I'll start Don't Do This today. College football season is just around the corner. A little further, though, for one team. Florida A&M has suspended all football activities for kind of a strange infraction. So apparently a professional rapper used their locker room without authorization to film a rap video. According to reports, the rapper goes by Real Boston Richie. He's a Tallahassee, Florida native named Jalen Foster.
I'm just confused on so many levels. Real Boston Richie from Tallahassee,
yep.
Florida.
He went to their Tallahassee campus without authorization, used the locker room, used gear and logos of the team, and then it dropped. And later that day, the coach at Florida A&M released a statement saying that they have suspended all football activities. Although I'm a proud proponent of free speech and support all forms of musical expressions, this football team has a responsibility to protect the university's image. As a result of this unfortunate situation, as head football coach, I'm effectively suspending all football-related activities until further notice. They didn't like some of the language, I guess, that was in the rap. And again, you really should get permission from, like the university if you're going to use their facilities before filming a rap video. But I don't know. Why are they blaming the whole football team?
The coach,
That's what I'm not sure about.
The coach should have said, I am a big proponent of free speech. I am not a big proponent of breaking and entering into. Was it the players that let him in?
That's what I'm guessing.
Were they like, hey, what's his name? Real Boston
Richie.
Hey,
yeah.
Real Boston Richie is outside. He wants to use the locker room. And
that would be cool. Let's let him in.
Yeah. And he can, hey, what's ours is yours, Real Boston Richie. Enjoy. I would like to hear at some point, Paulie, some real Boston Richie, if there's a clean version of anything out there.
Football programs like 100 players and dozens of coaches
and assistants.
They can't have all said, let's all team up and let this guy in to film a rap
Why
video.
Is everyone being? I want to know. Was it's got to be the players that let him in?
Yes,
right?
I know. That's not included in this story or report.
That's weird.
Which is why it's a bit of a weird story.
Real Boston Richie didn't just stumble upon the Florida A&M. You said?
Yeah, I mean he's from Tallahassee. That's where Florida A&M is. Maybe it was just he needed a locker room. That was the closest one.
Yeah.
He said, "Hey guys, can I
do
use
this?
your locker room?"
And
they said,
the players
sure.
thought it would be cool.
Yeah, well.
Interesting. As Paulie digs for some Real Boston Richie. This was awesome. Came out Friday. Awful announcing. Never disappoints. That's kind of the goal if you're a broadcaster, to really never make it on awful announcing. You never want one of your takes to be on there. And this is not the first time Colin Cowherd has had a take like this. It is staggering to listen to, though. It's staggering. When he talks baseball, it's almost like there's a gun to his head, And of course, he only covers the one topic in baseball that he thinks he can handle, and that's Shohei Ohtani. And this is how that goes.
It's
him and Jason
Colin
McIntyre.
Cowherd and Jason McIntyre.
Yeah, both equally guilty here.
Do you know how much you could get for Ohtani? I'm guessing. I'm a casual. 5 first-round picks, your best prospect, your third best prospect, and 2 solid starters.
Well, given how poorly the Angels have done in the draft recently, I would rather just take best prospects. Like, give me your best 3 guys in the farm system, Yankees. Give them to me now. Ohtani's yours.
You're not going to take any draft picks?
I guess I'll take a couple picks, but I want immediate prospects that are going to help me now.
Not allowed. Prospects also.
All right. 3 best prospects, 3 number 1 picks.
Yeah,
would you move
done.
I would certainly, yeah. I mean, but I'm like you. I want to win. It's in my.
Well, you can't trade. It says here you can't trade draft picks. I'm
a
a baseball casual, so you can't trade draft picks. So you'd get the Yankees 3 best prospects. I'm not doing it for that. I'm going to get 3 prospects, and you get the best player in baseball.
It's weird.
His producer said, "Hey, bud, I think we've gone over this before.
Can't do that.
This isn't the Lions, okay? They're not the Lions or the Chargers or the Jags. You can't trade prospects, Colin. It's in the NFL. I know as much as you want it to be, and how much will this affect Tom Brady's legacy and Aaron Rodgers, also Michael Jordan and LeBron. You can't trade draft picks in Major League.
They're also missing the nuance of you're only acquiring him for 2 months.
Right, the rental.
You're just renting him for a couple of months.
So that's probably what you're going to get is prospects if you decide to move him now.
Right.
So
if you could trade draft picks, I don't know, take 5 first-rounders.
Done.
For 2
in
months.
2 months, though, I don't know. So let me just pull up real quick.
I mean, we're not going to see the first-round draft picks anyways. Why not?
We get stuff wrong. I forget like who we're playing and stuff, but
it's pretty bad.
That's pretty bad, dude. He makes $6 million a year.
Ugh. Finally,
$6 million a year.
So that's the starting point for contract negotiations, right?
For us?
Well, hey, we know that you can't trade draft picks in MLB. So
draft picks. How many first rounders?
How many number ones?
You're not asking for draft picks back? No, I'm not, because I can't. I can, but they're not going to give them to me because it's not allowed. Colin, I don't get it, man.
Bad.
I don't get it.
All right, finally, a little do this, and
DD mega
a lot of soccer in the news lately, but I feel like one of the hardest things to do in sports is come somewhere with massive expectations and then meet or exceed them right away. Usually that is it's almost impossible to do. So when Lionel Messi signed with Inter Miami and was going to make his debut, and he wasn't, they're kind of easing him into it. I think they brought him in at halftime just as a substitute, just like get his feet wet in MLS. You can't expect a guy to score a goal in his first game for sure. It's soccer, right? That's not how this game works. It's like expecting you trade for Shohei Ohtani. Well, if he doesn't hit 3 home runs in the first game,
it's a waste.
We're going to be disappointed. It's a bust. What does Messi do in his first game? I think it was Friday night for Inter Miami. So it comes down late. Game is tied. They get to the stoppage time at the end, and Miami gets a free kick, not a penalty kick, but a free kick just outside down at the box area. Always been Messi's specialty with that amazing left foot of his. Get the whole other teams lined up in their like wall right in front of him. You got to get 10 yards away, and they're got the goalie back there. It's like all we have to do is not let this go in the goal, and we'll get out of here with a tie. What does he do? He just absolutely
drills it.
Just a big hooking left footer that goes around the wall and past the outstretched hands of the goalie into the top corner of the net to win the game. And it's like, all right, you couldn't have scripted it any better.
How cool
for his first American game other than that for Messi.
How cool to be there for that too, is if you're an Inter Miami fan and you're like, I can't believe he's here.
Oh, that was the place to be in America that night.
I'll never forget Juan Soto's first night here as a San Diego Padre. One of the most electric factory in Petco Park, and then of course Brandon Drury hits the he just got here too, and everyone failed to mention really him, and he hits a grand slam in the first inning. I think we lost that game.
No, we won that game.
Did
we won that game.
I thought we lost.
I promise you, we won that game. We lost like the next 3.
Yeah,
but we won that one.
Colorado, I think.
Honorable mention: U.S. women's national team opens the World Cup with a 3-0 win over Vietnam. They play the Netherlands on Wednesday night our time, and I got the big Wrexham Manchester United match at Snapdragon Stadium tomorrow night. So the eyes of the soccer world will be on San Diego for a bit this week as well.
A lot going on in our sleepy little town.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's Don't and Do This for a Monday.
That was Don't Do This with Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan.
I already said that Saturday's Padres win was something I was looking for, a come-from-behind win. Well, Friday's was the other thing that I was looking for from the San Diego Padres. Getting it done. We'll go back to the series opener in Detroit, take some phone calls coming up next with Ben and Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Well, we've already established 5-5 doesn't really get you back into it on a 10-game road trip. But did the last week do something else that may be even more important than a win or two for the San Diego Padres? We'll discuss that coming up after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the premier Kia of Carlsbad Traffic Center, part of the Premier Auto family, here's Kelly Tannick.
Got a few problems here. Westbound King Freeway near Kelton. There is a stalled vehicle. They're running a brake to try and clear that over the right shoulder. Also traveling on westbound 8 just before the 125. We're getting reports of a green trash can bouncing around in lanes. Guys, another ladder in lanes, North County, south on 15, right before Valley Parkway. Looks like that is in middle lanes, so just take it extra carefully there. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben and Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
I have to say that I kind of took for granted for too long the kind of win the Padres had on Friday night. When you feel like you've got a lead in the 8th inning and you hand the ball to a setup man and a closer, and they simply get the job done, and you end up winning that game at the end. And for many years, even when the Padres weren't great as a team, they always had good closers, pretty good setup men. You felt comfortable that if the Padres could somehow find a way to lead a game after 7 innings, they were going to find a way to finish out and win that game.
Yeah.
And it just hasn't been the case over the last couple of months, especially just no trustworthy options, especially in the setup roles in the 7th and the 8th inning. So getting Robert Suarez back and having him hand the ball off to Josh Hader on Friday in a game that went from 5-0 to 5-4 and got really dicey there in the 8th inning was very comforting and very encouraging sign of what happened in Friday night's win in Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention the 900 feet of home runs that Juan Soto hit. 2 absolute moonshots on Friday night to get the Padres going. And yeah, you needed it. You needed every one of them. You needed the RBI trick.
Like 950 feet.
Something
of home
absurd.
Runs.
471, 463. I mean, just incredible power from Juan Soto. Was seeing it very well. Jake Cronenworth, nice to see him get some knocks, a lot of extra bases this weekend for Jake as well. Very, very much needed. You know, he ended up winning that game by 1, but you're right, Ben. That's what it boiled down to. At the end of the day, you did let them back in the game. Detroit clawed their way back 5-4, and the guys come in and lock it down, and it was very much needed.
Seth Lugo, 6 innings, 2 earned runs, evens his record at 4-4. Still a little worried about Nick Martinez in the long ball. Continues to plague him. Gave up a 2-run homer to Riley Green that did make it a 5-4 game there in the 7th inning. But ultimately getting Suarez and Campusano back during this road trip, will that pay enough dividends both in the bullpen and in the back end of the lineup to really change the fundamental nature of what this team is? It feels like, how could it? You have so many superstars, so many great players. Why would it be so important that a rookie catcher who's really proven nothing in the big leagues and a relief pitcher who has missed the first 3.5-4 months of the season has one good year under his belt? How could those two guys make such a critical difference in this ball club? Is that really what the Padres have been missing all this time?
I think Suarez, well, I mean, but Sanchez has filled the gap admirably. Because if he doesn't get released by the 3 teams that released him before we pick him up, we're still running Austin Nola out there, Ben, and we're running Brett Sullivan out there for all those games that Gary helped contribute. And not only with the bat, you know, obviously you look at his batting average and you go, oh, yikes. The power has been there. Again, accounted for only RBI. His arm, dude, the guy has piped more guys and taken more base runners off. Again, to hurt us a little bit yesterday with that amazing throw by Fernando Tatis Jr., just kind of, as Jesse called it, squirted out of his glove. It's the Gary Sanchez experience. You're going to get a lot of good, but you're going to get some bad too. I think when you look at Suarez, though, how useful, if he was healthy, how useful would he have been this entire season? You got Tim Hill working in the 8th. You got Nick Martinez working in the 8th. This is not the role for those guys. Luis Garcia working in the 8th at times. Yeah, I think a huge difference if Robert Suarez is with this team throwing like he's capable of from opening day.
I'm comfortable with Gary Sanchez and Luis Campusano.
As am I.
For at least the rest of this season as the Padres catching core. I don't think that's an area that the Padres need to address any longer.
If they don't go on a run in the second half, if they don't get the job done, the job at hand, it won't be because of the catching position.
No, I don't.
When
before, I mean, Austin Nola was really contributing nothing on the defensive side of the ball, the offensive side of the ball, nothing. I mean, in fact, he was hitting into double plays. He was really, really a costly guy to have in the lineup. So I think I'm with you. I think those guys finish out the rest of the year. I'm good with that. I don't think you need to trade for a bad contract in Salvador Perez or anything like that.
Honestly, I think the only thing the Padres really need to do offensively at the trade deadline, if they are improving and, making a play at it, a left-handed bat that can either, play first base, DH, do both. I know Jake heating up a little bit, and that's great, but
gotta continue.
You got to continue, and if he doesn't, you need that option, a guy who can either replace Carpenter as your left-handed DH bat or play
really
some first base if Jake's struggling.
I don't know that Jake can really show you anything in the next 8 days to make you not want to go out and get that player.
Because
the decision's already been made. That's what we need.
Again, that person will slot into whoever that person may be. If it's a Cody Bellinger or somebody of that ilk, that person will slot into the DH, or Jake will slot into there's a lot of different things you can do. You need a left-handed power bat. You have to find one. Yeah,
Xander DH, Kim to short, Crony to second.
Yeah,
whatever.
There's a lot of different maneuvers that you can make if you're Bob Melvin to get a better lineup on the field. But Matt Carpenter is not getting the job done, certainly, and it's probably time to say goodbye.
And then one more arm out of the pen would be nice. It doesn't have to be a premier guy, but just someone who you think is throwing well now and can help you get some outs over the last couple of months of the season.
I'm not going to mind it. I wouldn't mind another starting pitcher either. Because
I wouldn't. I guess it depends. If they think Waka's coming back and is going to be healthy, I think you can get by with the guys you've got. They've pitched pretty well. You'd have solid starting. If you don't think that Waka is coming back, I mean, I don't know that I'm ready to rely on Jackson Wolf the rest of the year as my fifth starter.
You're putting a lot of faith in the durability of Lugo and Waka.
Well, if you do make the playoffs, you're going to end up again if Waka doesn't come back. And I mean, again, this started as shoulder fatigue, and that was what, 3 weeks ago. It seems, is he going to come back and go right into what he was doing before? I doubt it. So you're looking down the road. Seth Lugo he's not a 150 innings a year guy, and you're riding him pretty hard right now. So you're going to get to that point. If you do, God willing, make the playoffs, you're going to get a Ryan Weathers start again.
I hope not. I mean, you don't need 5 starters in the playoffs.
You don't.
Though. You need
Lugo
3 or 4.
But you got three locked in. Joe, Darvish, Snell, right? Those are set in stone.
But I think Lugo and Waka are still your first option if they're throwing well.
If they're throwing well, but Waka's got to come back. He's got to pitch like close to what he was before. He was freaking pitcher of the month a couple months ago. And then you've got Lugo, and how many innings? I mean, him in a long relief.
Ideally,
like
Lugo adds to your bullpen options in the postseason,
which would be insane.
Waka would be your 4th star. I mean, you put it all together in an ideal circumstance, and you do a Snell, Darvish, Musgrove, Waka rotation with Lugo in the bullpen now, in addition to the guys you already have, with maybe one more pickup and one more left-handed bat.
Pretty deadly.
I think you got a pretty formidable team for October all set up. Now,
got to get there.
It requires some health, and it requires getting there. 2 things that are absolutely not guaranteed, not even close to being guaranteed. But it's why we keep saying that Padres could just somehow get on that run and get in. They would be one of the scariest teams out there to face in the postseason, because they really are well built for October. You can't get in now unless you go on a run. And as they keep showing us, they are physically incapable
allergic
of going on a 4-game winning streak this season. Jesse was talking about it over the weekend. I was listening to the radio broadcast, and he said he would have a conversation with one of the Tigers' longtime broadcasters, and he happened to mention, the Padres don't have a 4-game winning streak this year. And he says the broadcaster said, there's no possible way that's true. You are mistaken.
No one believes
There's no way that this San Diego Padres team has not won more than 3 games in a row all season. It is impossible. Jesse, check your numbers again. And Jesse's go, oh no, we are very, very aware
it's unbelievable
that the Padres have never gone beyond 3 wins in a row this season. He goes, That to me is one of the most stunning stats I have ever heard in baseball.
That's what I said last week. It's the ones you can give me all of the runners in scoring position. You can give me all of the bullpen woes. You can give me all of the ERAs and the this and that and the other. It is absolutely stunning that here we sit on July 24th, and this team has not won 4 games in a row. It's staggering. We should be way more out of it than we are right now. I guess if you want to look glass half full, it's amazing we're still in the conversation. Truly. It is excruciating as a fan. I get that. It is got to be excruciating as a player. You know, you got to think you win 3 games in a row. You're gonna luck into one guy having an off day on the 4th game, and you guys just putting the wood to him and going out and dominating that game. You don't even. It's not like you have to play great baseball to win 4 in a row. You have a really talented roster.
No, think about
you've
this.
Got quality start after quality start after quality start.
Sometimes you play a 4-game series against a team that's just ravaged with injuries.
Right.
They got no starting pitcher, and you just play 4 average games, and they just give it to you.
Yeah, you win 5-1,
That happens
6-2
all the time in a long baseball
It used
season.
to. It used to happen all the time. I cannot wrap my head around it. I cannot wrap my head around that one. It is truly, truly amazing.
0-9 in extra innings
It's
is also
staggering.
creeping
It's
up there
staggering.
on that list of
It's staggering.
staggering statistics.
It is so staggering. You'd think at least in one of those, we would have started with a runner on second. Somebody would have hit a 2-run bomb, right? It's like, okay, we got a 2-run lead. Then, you scratch out one. We got a 3-run lead going in. Josh Hader comes in, closes it down. No.
Like I'm at the point with extra innings where I'm like, how long can that streak go?
So yesterday we're watching the game and it gets down to the 9th. The Padres finally decide to show something. I think they got their second hit in like the 7th inning or something. And they're in the 9th. They got runners on second and third, 2 out. Sanchez is up. And I felt it in my gut. Was with the kids at Jersey Mike's having lunch. And I go, Sanchez is going to get a knock here. He's going to get a knock here. And then I go, oh no. But then we'll be tied, and then we'll be in extra innings. And when he, flew out, I went, it's probably for the best. Probably for the best at this point. Just get on the plane, get on home. Don't have to use any more arms. Just get on home. Take the L. Because I did not want to see them go 0-10. No, in extra innings in Detroit, I did not. Rain was coming down. Let's just get the hell out of here.
I made a delay.
Take the L and let's just go. It's fine. Unless this guy spikes 2 balls in the dirt, we're not tying this game.
If you want to join us, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Got some people who don't, I guess I'm not explaining it well enough, but challenging. Mark just tweeted in, how can Ben Higgins say the Padres are in better position after that road trip, still relying on 3 other teams to tank? It's false hope. I'm not saying that the Padres don't need help, but let me try to explain it another way. Let's say, before there were 3 wild card teams and there was just 1 wild card spot. If you were 4 games out, but you were chasing down one team and there were 3 or 4 other teams ahead of you, that's a long way to go to get to 1 spot because you've got other teams to worry about. You've got 1 chance out of 5, essentially, to make the playoffs, and you're in the worst position. Now the Padres, there's 3 teams that are right there, all tied, essentially, for the wild card lead. And then there's 4 teams that are chasing them down. So almost 50% of those teams eventually will make the playoffs, as opposed to like 20% of those teams in my first situation. So the fact that every wild card spot is in play right now actually increases the chances of the Padres and, every other team essentially of making it to the postseason. So kind of that bunching up of teams is actually quite helpful when you get into a pennant race. There are more options.
Yeah, there's more options.
You don't need every team to collapse. You actually, if 2 teams played really, really well, and you go, man, we couldn't gain ground on either of those 2 teams, it's okay because there's 3 spots still to play. So you can withstand a couple of teams playing well now. Whereas if you're going after 1 spot, let's say, 2 teams are running away with the first 2 wild card spots, and you're trying to chase down the 3rd spot, hey, you could play the greatest baseball in the world, and if another team plays close to what you're playing, you can't catch up. Now it's almost inevitable. If you play well, you will gain ground almost every single day. You're not 1 or 2 of these teams.
They're not in better, and make no mistake, they're not in better shape because of the way they've played.
No,
they're in better shape because of the league that they're in. That's it. That's the only reason. If they were in the AL, Ben, it's probably church. You know what I'm saying?
Many National League wildcard contenders have taken a big step back.
Yeah,
over the last few days.
And the fact that we didn't win as many as we thought we could have in that time hurts you, obviously. But it's not, they're in better position today because they have options. There's options. That's the only reason they're
going 5-5 on a 10-game road trip didn't kill you.
Right. It did not kill you.
Not
as
kill
it,
the
as it
season.
probably would in the AL or anywhere. I think that's what Ben's saying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, by the way, one team that no one's talked about at all, and now actually snuck ahead of the Padres by a half game. The Chicago Cubs are now 48-51.
And that's everyone's talking about them unloading Stroman and Bellinger, and I'm like, well, they're in it. How do you justify that to your fan base?
And the Mets are just a game and a half behind the Padres. They were also reported this weekend as going to be measured sellers at the trade deadline. You know, both of those teams are talking about being sellers, but they're right there with the Padres. The Cubs are intriguing to me. Like the Padres, who have a plus 52 run differential, despite being 4 games under 500, the Cubs are in the same boat. They're plus 41 and are 3 games under 500. Their expected record is much better than they should be at this point. In many ways, despite the fact that they didn't have the expectations of the Mets, they're in a much better position than the Mets, who were, they're 17 under on their run differential and 7 games under 500. They probably should be sellers at this point. The Cubs and Padres, though, can both make the argument that, the way we played, we're due to, win a few more games. Now, we've been saying that forever about the Padres. It's true for the Cubs, though, and they're showing it lately as well, making a bit of a run and climbing their way back to 500.
Yeah, no question. I mean, the Padres gone wild in the chat said Cubs are probably buying. And I do still see it on MLB Network. Hey, who could the Cubs unload? Stroman, free agent after this year. He could always, they were talking about him accepting a trade and then re-signing with the Cubs. He's really comfortable there and having a good year. Bellinger is really heating up right now. So how do you in good conscience, if you're in it in that 6th wild card spot, battling for that, how do you go out and unload those guys? This next week's going to tell a lot.
All right, we'll take a timeout. I've got I'll look at these the last 10 games. Padres went 5-5. We know that's as good as it gets in the National League wildcard race right now. We'll talk about that coming up. Reset the show next with Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan.
All right, we are halfway home on a Monday. Ben and Woods 97.3 The Fan. I'm Woodsy. That's Paulie. That's Benny. And we're in here talking Padres baseball. I want to remind everybody today is also International Self-Care Day. So take care of yourself today. It's no coincidence that it's also National Drive-Thru Day and National Tequila Day. So you mix all three of those together, get a little drive-through action, shot of tequila, and then go home and take care of yourself. Okay? It's a deadly combo.
Yeah.
By deadly, I mean great.
Not safe, though, necessarily.
Why?
Getting a drive-through shot of tequila?
No.
Oh,
You go through the drive-through.
Yeah.
You get your food.
All right.
Then you go home and you eat your food. Then you have your shot of
Then
tequila.
you have your shot
and
of
then you
tequila.
take care of yourself.
Because I don't think they do drive-through tequila shots anywhere.
In Texas, you can drive through and buy liquor and stuff and beer. I've done it. It's a weird thing to see. The drive-through beer store it's quite a scene. It's a real thing that exists in the state of Texas.
Everything bigger in Texas
from where I come. But yeah, so listen, you're probably tired of hearing us talk about this team. Basically our job is to come in and just try to work through it every day. I'm tired of my own voice. Believe me, I'm tired of my own opinions. I'm tired of the sound of my voice. I'm tired of the this team can get it together. I'm tired of this is a big series. I'm tired of what are they going to do at the deadline? I'm tired of, are they going to be buyers and sellers? I'm tired of all of it. The only way that you can squash this and bring some positivity and good vibes back to the city is by going out and taking care of business. That's it. It's the only way. It's in their hands to do. And somebody had tweeted us over the weekend on the Ben and Woods account. Hey, you know what I think we should do? We should pack Petco Park and show these guys we really love them. And I thought to myself, yeah, that's pretty much what we've been doing every single home game. 41,000 a night out at Petco Park. And listen, we said this about several series this year, at least 5 or 6 that I can think of. This is a series that you have to sweep. Write it down, mark it down, put it on the whiteboard, whatever you got to do. This is not one where you can win 2 of 3 or, God forbid, do worse than that. You need to win this series against the Pittsburgh Pirates, who are a last-place team. Yes, they've got some guys that can play. They don't have more guys that can play than you do. Not even close. You said they were such a fun story to start the year, and they were. But they're in dead last place right now, right?
They are 43-56. Since the Padres visited Pittsburgh at the end of June and were swept by the Pirates, they have lost 14 of their past 18 games. They are in free fall mode. Today they will start a pitcher. His name is
Quinn
Priester, right-hander. Has made 1 start, lost to the Guardians 11-0. Gave up 7 runs in 5 1/3 innings, so his ERA is 11.69.
Nice.
I mean, you've got Darvish on the mound on his own bobblehead night.
I don't know. We can't put that out there anymore. We can't. We can't even say. We can no longer say we're just going to get dominated by. What's his name? Quinn Priestley.
Quinn Priester.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels, and it's baseball, so it never works out this way. Just like yesterday didn't work out in almost similar situation.
No, dude, you got a last place team.
Like it feels like Alabama against one of the bye games early in the season.
Yeah.
Should be
against Florida A&M. It's a cupcake game.
3-7 their last 10. You're throwing out Darvish, Snell, and Lugo in the next 3 games. You got to sweep these. Guys.
Yeah,
you have to sweep these.
You have to. It's weird because I have moved beyond my 1 game at a time thing. Now I'm like, I need 3 at a time. That's what I need. I need 3 games at a time.
Will I be mad if they win 2 out of 3? It depends on how they lose that.
You know who won't?
Won, I guess.
Bo
Woods.
Bo
and Ben.
At least we won the series.
No, you got to sweep them, especially with a good Texas team coming to town this weekend.
I got to get that mentality out of his head. ASAP.
You should ground him.
I should. Dad, what did I do? Well, you said that 2 out of 3 was good enough. No, I mean, you can't win. You can't win 3 in a row without winning tonight. And this is one that you should absolutely dominate. You absolutely should. I'm going to go on record and say that they will. I think they win tonight's game. So I will make that bold prognostication that the Padres are coming home. They've been on a long road trip. recharging the batteries today, get back to the ballpark tonight, and probably going to be playing in front of, I would imagine, close to 40,000 people again.
Oh, tonight it's bobblehead night.
Bobblehead night. Yeah, it's going to be jam-packed, and Darvish on the bump for his bobblehead night. Just go out and impose your will.
If you look at the standings, as I was talking about earlier, Padres you can either say they missed an opportunity or they got really lucky, because their 5-5 road trip did actually help them. You look at the teams in the wild card standings right now. In their last game since the All-Star break, the Reds 5-5, but that includes just a recent sweep over the Diamondbacks, who are 2-8 since the All-Star break and have lost 4 in a row. The Giants have lost 5 in a row. They just got swept by the Washington Nationals. The Phillies ended a 4-game losing streak yesterday with an extra inning win, but they have gone 500 since the All-Star break. The Marlins are 2-8 since the All-Star break. They just ended an 8-game losing streak yesterday against the Colorado Rockies in extra innings. So the Padres, the 5-5 record among those contenders in the National League wildcard, is actually tied for the best record in the second half of the season so far.
It's like the universe is begging us to take it. It's yours. It's yours for the taking. You need to go out and win ball games. All right. So starts tonight. Got to whip this dude. You got to get into that bullpen, and I that's why I thought yesterday.
And you get a little mad about what happened when we went to Pittsburgh last time out.
No question.
They took it to you.
They did.
As in any series this year, that one may go down as one of the ugliest for the Padres. Is that one in Pittsburgh that? Yeah, that was embarrassing when they went and lost 3 straight to Pittsburgh.
No question.
Ray says in the YouTube chat, need a $10 bet. $10 bet. Do they sweep?
Do they sweep? Woods.
God, it's hard to bet on a sweep. I'll take it though.
You'll take the sweep. All right. I'll 2.5 over under for wins this week, and Woods will go the over. All right, put it on the
boom.
I'll put it on the whiteboard. Woods
Love
is taking
that.
the sweep. They will be favored.
Heavily.
Fairly heavily in all 3 games by odds makers, at least.
No question. No question. And they can do it. The Pirates. Yeah, you got a little revenge. You got the clock ticking on the trade deadline. I mean, if you want to see those guys that are next to you in the locker room win every game this week. See what happens.
No, last week. I hope we're buyers.
Yeah.
You guys want to be buyers?
It's in your hands.
Let's go.
It's a bummer. That's the hard part about being a fan, is because you don't have any control. None. You have no control over the outcomes of these games. Zero. You may think you do. You may think it's the T-shirt you wear. You may think it's what you had for dinner. You don't. You have no control over it. It's those guys got to look themselves in the mirror and decide, do we want to be playing in October, or do we want to be retooling for next year? Do we want to see Blake Snell get shipped to the Orioles, who are red hot, just took 3 or 4 from the Tampa Bay Rays? Do we want to see Josh Hader be shipped to, the Rays for their run? If the answer is no, go win every game this week and make it very difficult on AJ Preller and everybody in the front office to do that.
Let's see. Tomorrow you've got the wily veteran Rich Hill, oldest player in baseball, against Blake Snell, and then undecided against Seth Lugo on Wednesday are the current pitching matchups that I see. So again, there's no reason that this shouldn't be all Padres this series.
No question.
You've got to go out and take care of business, though, and then they can try to go for their 4-game winning streak on Friday against a real team, a decent team, the Texas Rangers, who, by the way, did put Corey Seager on the injured list over the weekend, which I believe means he will be unavailable.
He will be.
For the Padres-Rangers series coming up this weekend. So that's a little good break for the Padres as well right there.
Yeah, no question about it. So, I mean, it's tough. It's not in our hands. It's not in our control, but it is what it is at this point. And again, I watch a lot of MLB TV. I watch a lot of the pundits still talking, and many people still believe in this team if they can get to October. It's a big if. There is still light, but you got to handle business.
Let's talk of the All-Star break, when everybody was looking ahead at the second half of the season or looking back at the first half of the season. It was, who's the bigger surprise, or who are you buying, the Mets or the Padres?
Right.
And everyone's like, the Mets are a mess. They're not a good baseball team. I can't fathom San Diego not turning it around, not figuring it out.
A lot of people think that.
Everybody thinks that.
Yeah, Wavy tweets in, when the Pirates swept us, they had lost like 11 of 12. We need to stop worrying about the other teams, just play the best baseball we can. Yeah, there's this thing I saw on Instagram once. It was pretty cool. It was a college coach talking to, maybe it was a high school coach, and he was talking to his opponents or his players, and he was talking about the opponent, and he goes, they're nameless. They're faceless. They're just guys. Like, if you get in the box and, hey, they got a good pitcher and he throws really hard, you lost. You're already out. You're done. Doesn't matter who's in front of you. nameless, faceless opponents. Doesn't matter what their record is. Doesn't matter how many they'd lost up to this point. Doesn't matter that this rookie's got an 11 ERA. It doesn't. See ball, hit ball, make plays, win baseball games. You have the talent to do it.
Quietly, the people that this is the absolute hardest on is us, the talk hosts who have to discuss the Padres every single day, because all we can do is base our opinions on what we see and what we're expecting. Hey, usually in baseball, a team is playing hot, guys are hot, you expect them to play well. Hey, everyone's hitting, you're playing an opponent who's struggling. Well, that would logically lead you to predict they should do well in this series, right? Just this last series against the Tigers, though, shows you how can we ever come and sit here and make any accurate statements about this team? On Saturday, they looked about as good as any team has looked in any game this season.
Just hit after hit, after hit after hit.
They looked like they were ready to unleash a tidal wave of offense for the next 2 months of the season. So logically, I think we all expected on Sunday for them to follow that up with another solid performance against a bad pitcher. And then it didn't happen. And I have no explanation as to why. So now do I think, well, are they that team? Is that who's going to show up today? They're going to have they're going to get 2 hits against this guy with an 11.69 ERA and somehow find a way to lose an okay Darvish start 2-1? Or are they going to win 15-2? Both seem quite within the realm of possibility. That's not a prediction. Well, I think they'll either win huge or they won't score at all and they'll lose. That's what the Padres have been this year. That's not a prediction. That's anything can happen. And now we just have to wait and watch and see what happens tonight.
Yeah,
might as well be watching the lottery balls come out of Powerball.
It's out of your control. Yeah. So
what's the Padres' performance today? 6, 48,
29,
37. I don't know. Is that a win or not? I can't tell on any given night whether this team is going to be really, really good or just bad enough to lose.
No, I'm with you 100%. It's massively from my hair is grayed a lot this season. It really has. I was thinking about some Just for Men. Got some for my birthday. My kids thought it would be funny to get me some Just for Men. But by my kids, I think my wife.
Yeah.
But they gave me some.
How does that work? They say you just shampoo it in,
you brush
and
it
then,
in over here, like on the grays.
Brush it in, yeah.
Brush it here, and you wait 5 minutes, and then you just rinse it out, and then it's dark.
How does it know what color your hair is supposed to be?
Well, it has the dye.
Okay,
so you
have
pick
to match it.
Yeah. So if you have darker hair than me,
Right,
you do a darker, and mine's brown. Like my hair's more like Polly's color hair. It used to be. And now I've got the grays coming in, and I'll be honest with you. I looked at the box this weekend and said,
maybe.
Would you call my hair brown or black?
Black.
See, now on my driver's license, I call it brown. I think it's dark brown, but I think it's still brown, not black.
Take your hat off for a second. Yeah, you have black hair.
I have black hair. So
black hair.
I have a government document that is inaccurate.
So you could probably fight any speeding ticket you got. This clearly isn't me.
Not me.
This is me.
Because I've always said I have brown hair and brown eyes.
You have black hair.
I have black hair.
Jet black.
Jet black.
Yeah.
No, it's not jet.
It's
black.
jet black.
It's a dark brown.
You don't even have any grays. How is that possible?
I don't have any grays.
He's a cyborg. You are an absolute cyborg.
Very careful about such.
What do you mean careful? You can't. There's nothing you can do to control it.
Oh, you think that? I try to live stress-free as possible.
How is that possible with your life? How is it possible?
No stress whatsoever, and keep the hair from going gray.
It's a sociopath.
No joy in my life.
It's genetics. Your dad's only starting to go gray.
Yeah, he's 70 and he's starting to go gray.
Just getting lucky here. That's all.
The Padres and my children.
All right. Do you want to join us? We got some time for some callers before Jordan Schusterman checks in at the bottom of the hour from Cespedes Family Barbecue. Give us a call, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. And I may finally mention the one thing that I haven't mentioned in 2 hours and 15 minutes, because it really wasn't worth mentioning that early in the show.
Golf.
Yep. Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan. We'll be back after this check of traffic. Sarah and the Fan is brought to you by BalancePro.org. Are you planning to purchase a home this year? Balance offers pre-purchase counseling and education to help you get ready. Make a free appointment with Balance by visiting BalancePro.org today or call 1-888-457-2227. So I feel like I'm kind of this is a spoiled golf fan take, but it was a really boring Open.
You said that about another major this year. I can't remember which one.
Yeah, Wyndham Clark U.S. Open wasn't all that exciting either. That one seemed really exciting compared to this one this weekend, as a fairly unknown pro. I mean, he's been around for a while. Brian Harman. He's 36 years old, hadn't won in over 6 years. Just lefty who just does enough to stay on tour every year. Really good putter.
It's pretty great though. 6 years between wins.
I mean,
it's
a great story for him. There was no drama whatsoever.
Right.
He took a 5-shot lead into the final round, ended up winning by 6. I don't know if it ever got closer than 4 in the final round. He just, every time he needed to make a putt, he made it, which is great. It just isn't phenomenal theater for a final round of the major. And, worthy of spending a whole Sunday watching golf, which I like to do. So I didn't really.
You had it on in our cart as we were driving around yesterday.
I didn't know if something was going to happen, but nothing ever did happen. I kind of regretted all the battery life I used out of my phone.
Ray says in the chat, Ben, finally seeing golf is boring. Yes, in that instance it was. It is a cool story, but I did find it interesting that he was started his early round, had a bogey, then had another bogey. And I guess a fan said, "Hey, Harman, you don't have the stones for this." And he said that kind of lit a fire under him a little bit, and he went and put it away. I think that's pretty cool. I think that's a pretty cool story. Look, we got there's only so many times you can talk about the Padres and whether or not they're going to get it together. It was a major, and I have no problem with you talking.
Yeah, apparently he's got some grit. I mean, he's 5'7", he's not he doesn't hit it that long. I think he's 106th in driving distance on tour. He's just a really good putter, got a good short game, and made it work for him this week, like the perfect week. He just putted his mind out, just unbelievable this week, and no one could keep up with him. Even the John Rahm, who tied for second with Jason Day, a couple other guys, Rory McIlroy, just couldn't quite get it going on the weekend. Finished at 6 under. They were just left too far behind to really make an impact in the final round.
When does the golf season conclude?
So they have a couple more weeks, then they do the 3-week FedEx Cup playoffs,
which is awesome.
And then in September is the Ryder Cup this year,
which is incredible.
People will be paying attention to that, and Brian Harman likely playing his way onto the Ryder Cup team.
Well,
with that win as well.
And I was also told last week we will have a Ryder Cup correspondent. This may not shock anyone out there listening. Odyssey has decided not to send us to Italy for the Ryder Cup. They have decided not to. They're not even sending Sam Levitt out there. They're sending Adam Jones is going to be out at the Ryder Cup and has said that he will be happy to correspond. The Ryder Cup is incredible. It's such a blast to watch. Every 4 years.
Every 2 years. 2 years.
And they're playing it in Europe now. So Europe will have that advantage and all of that, but it is phenomenal theater. Phenomenal theater.
All right, let's go out to the phone lines, 833-288-0973. You want to talk some Padres, which we've been talking all morning. We got Wayne on the line. Wayne, welcome to Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan.
Hello, Wayne.
Hey, how are you guys?
Good, buddy.
Hey, just to let you know, I'm on a positive note here. We have played 100 games.
Yep.
Exactly. There's 62 games left, and you guys talk about 2 out of 3. Well, if we win 2 out of 3, we're pretty much going to have our 90-win season.
I think it said
so
it.
We just have to win.
I think they said we'd be at. You do the math, Benny. 100 games.
They're at 48 wins now with 62 games left. That would be essentially 41 wins. So they'd be at 89 wins.
89 wins. So I think that's what they were saying on the broadcast yesterday. And you do feel like 89 wins get you in. I think they said the Rays had 86 last year.
87 got you in the National the last couple of seasons. So, yeah, if you win 2 out of 3, the rest of the way, you're absolutely fine. The danger, of course, Wayne, is that when you don't sweep, you don't give yourself any margin for error. You want to understand that you'll probably lose a series somewhere between now and the end of the season.
It's just baseball.
Maybe to the Rangers, maybe to the Dodgers, that you might drop 2 out of 3. It's not a crime in Major League Baseball to lose a series every now and then. Even the best teams do it. but they offset that by occasionally going on a winning streak, sweeping a series 2 in a row, winning 6 in a row. And then when you do lose one, well, it all averages out
Doesn't
to
hurt
winning
you.
2 out of 3. Still wait, really, really hard to win 2 out of 3 all the way through the season when you lose 1 out of every 3 games.
It's funny though, if there was
no matter what.
if there was a team that was made to win 2 out of 3 for the rest of the season, I feel like it's the San Diego Padres.
Might be.
Could do it. Like, I think we set up nicely for that as we've shown. So,
but yeah, no, that's very true. 2 out of 3 wins the rest of the year should be enough to get the Padres to a wild card spot in the National League.
Yeah, and then it's anybody's ball game.
So yes, you can't be unhappy necessarily with 2 out of 3, but like when you're facing the Pirates this week, you want to win 3 out of 3, because then if you happen to drop 2 of 3 to the Rangers,
yeah.
well, then you've averaged winning 2 out of 3 over both series over your homestand, and you've made the progress that you need to make. Build yourself a little cushion. Don't rely on every single, because if you drop the first game of a series, well, then all of a sudden now
man.
We got to win these next 2. They're must-win games, absolutely, because we have to win our 2 out of 3 all the way through the rest of the season.
Exactly right. No, I like the positivity, Wayne. I do have some of that going on in my mind and body as well. I do. It's hard not to when you watch what they did Friday and Saturday, especially. You look at what they put together Friday and Saturday, and you go, yeah, right. I mean, tough, hard-fought win on Friday night, absolutely dominated on Saturday after a lengthy delay, and, took it to them, got to the bullpen, did everything you're supposed to do. Everybody got hits. Everybody contributed with the bat, the glove, the legs, whatever. And then Sunday rolls around, and it's just like, we got a flight to catch, and your top 4 guys get 1 knock between them off of a very pedestrian pitcher. It's not a recipe for success, and it's very, very frustrating. Very frustrating. Like, I want to stab myself with this pen. It's so frustrating.
Stab a pencil in half or something. Yeah.
How do you relieve stress like that? Is there something you do?
I don't. I just let it build up inside.
It's been a lot of years.
Yeah, I know.
Building. When you snap, it will be legendary.
Probably.
I hope it's not on me.
All my hair will turn gray all at once.
At once. Poof. Did you guys see Ben's white hair now?
I always those stories where like someone got into an accident or a trauma at some point, and they have this just like one shock of white hair that just is now in their head.
Mm-hmm.
They don't remember how it happened necessarily. Always very mysterious.
Or like the guy that hits his head and wakes up and he's speaking Cantonese.
Yes.
And he's never spoken Cantonese before. Fascinating to me every time.
It is.
I can't wait to see what happens to you.
All right, we'll see.
Hopefully, save it for the air, though.
I will. Thank you. Jordan Schusterman from Cespedes Family Barbecue will join us on a grand old Monday. That is coming up next. Maybe he'll be speaking Cantonese. Who we don't know.
You never know.
Unpredictable baseball coming up next on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. I think when we last talked to Jordan Schusterman from Cespedes Family Barbecue was a couple of weeks ago. Was it before the All-Star break?
Yes.
We had Jake on
We had him
last
on
week.
like Wednesday before the
So
All-Star
we were
break.
sure that by now we'd have some definition as to what the Padres are, buyers or sellers. I mean, you got to know at this point whether they were going to turn it on or whether let's write off this season. And yet here we are, still sitting in kind of the no man's land
Between limbo.
Between go for it or sell off pieces at the trade deadline. So we will once again rehash it all with Jordan right after this check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
From the premier Kia of Carlsbad Traffic Center, part of the Premier Auto family, here's Kelly Tannick.
Couple problems in the North County. Crash blocking the slow lane, North 5 coastline, just before Tamarack. Traveling on eastbound 78 past Nordall Road. We have reports of a stalled car in the fast lane. I'm Kelly Tannick with Bentonwood, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
All right, let's go out to our premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline, and we are joined by one of the dynamic duo from Cespedes Family Barbecue on a grand old Monday, Jordan Schusterman, back with us on 97.3 The Fan. Good morning, Jordan.
Good morning, gentlemen. Here we are again, still stuck in the middle. The road sweep continues to elude this team, and it's driving me crazy. I can only imagine how you guys are feeling.
Yeah, I just got a text from a buddy. Said the Padres are 0-5 in their last 5 series finales on the road. 0-5. I think they've scored 12 runs total in those 5 games. It just, we know it's not the case because it's baseball, but it just reeks of, all right, time to get on the plane and head on home to the wife and kids and home cooking and all that. 0-5, 0-9 in extra inning games. Haven't won 4 in a row. Jordan, there's a lot of these weird, funky stats that you don't really want your team to have a hand in.
Yeah. The extra innings thing, I've been tracking that one since they were like 0-4, and I was like, this is especially now with the automatic runner, it just feels like it would be almost more random than ever. And yet to be 0-9, the record is 0-12, the 1969 Expos. I'm sure you guys have heard about that.
Oh yeah.
So let's hope we can at least get an extra innings win here, maybe soon, maybe before the trade deadline, maybe this week, coming back home, maybe get a little extra innings walk-off victory. That would be so great. I know they're still stuck here, just a couple games below 500. I still maintain that I just don't think they're going to get far enough in either direction to do anything too dramatic. I think they're more likely to add than sell at this point.
Yeah.
But I don't know where you guys are standing mentally. Like, I'm curious, what do you even want to see at this point if they're going to be at this stage in a week?
Changes on a day-to-day basis. Friday, I was all in. Today, I'm still all in. Today, I just saw that a couple of pieces are going to be made available. Like David Bednar is going to be made available from the Pirates, who we will see. He started here. Would not hate having David Bednar in this bullpen at all. He's not a free agent until 2027, so he's controllable. It's going to cost you a lot. Probably. But
talk about day to day though. If they drop 2 out of 3 to Pittsburgh, burn it down.
Yeah, burn it down.
Yeah,
100%.
Exactly.
Burn it down.
If they lose 4 out of their next 5 this week, it's like never mind. Just trade away Blake Snell, Josh Hader, get what you can before it's too late. You still have time before the deadline. Probably going to be 2 of the most prized pieces on the market. You can get a real good haul to restock and help you retool for next season. So we are still sitting here in limbo, Jordan.
Yeah. And I'm fascinated too, because I think a lot of people who now, especially as the Angels have sort of picked it up, have said, okay, well, if Ohtani's not getting moved, this is going to be such a boring deadline. Well, the Padres could ultimately control that in some sense because Snell and Hader could both be 2 of the biggest pieces on the move if they decide to make that decision. I would also say that gives them all the more reason to wait as long as possible, because they might be able to get even more. Like, I'm curious which of those guys they would get more first. As weird as that sounds, you would assume that the starter would fetch more, but I feel like Hader's the kind of guy, especially with how he's been pitching, might, if they're both rentals, like maybe they just move him. Like, I don't know. I wonder if there's a way that you say, okay, burn it all down. Is there a half measure here?
There is.
Where you could almost still keep, some foot towards the miracle run the second half, but also still get the trade? I don't know, especially with Suarez back now. I don't know. I still think that they're going to be close enough that they're not going to move either of those guys. I mean, I'd love to be wrong because I want a more interesting trade deadline from a neutral standpoint, but we'll see what happens.
No, I think there is a middle ground. What that looks like, I mean, I'm thankful I don't have to make that decision. But listen, Paulie made the point last week. I've seen a lot of people make it on Twitter too. If you're all in for 2023, and you are, and I think that shouldn't necessarily change. Blake Snell came out last week and said, look, I want to stay here. I want to stay here and see how that goes. And he's going to command a lot of money in the offseason. Certainly. I'm more of the ilk that tomorrow is promised to no one. So I don't have to pay out of my own pocket to get guys in the offseason or whatever. I'd like to see this team stay together. I'd like to see them add a couple of pieces and give it a real shot. I thought we were giving it a real shot at the beginning of the year. It hasn't worked out that way. It doesn't mean it won't, though. It doesn't mean it won't. Baseball can change on a dime. As we all know, the team, Jordan, coming in tonight was such a fun story for the first couple months of the season. Now they're in dead last, free fall mode, certainly. And, baseball can certainly change at the drop of a hat.
Yeah, no, 100%. You mentioned why it's changing on a daily basis for the Padres in particular. And that is because, when it's going right, you're like, oh my God, this is exactly what we all hoped for. And of course, that's on an individual basis. But I mean, you look at the stats over the last 3 weeks and you can't really ask for much more. Pretty much everyone's clicking. Finally, now Bogarts is starting to heat up again. We see what, Soto did over the weekend. I mean, we could talk for 10 minutes just about those 2 home runs alone. Those were not normal home runs by any stretch. And I know Soto I understand some of the critiques he's gotten in certain late game situations, but man, that guy is still so special. And also, I think the biggest thing, one of the biggest storylines the first couple months was Machado. And to see what he's looked like over the last couple weeks too, it's all pieced together. And yet they decide to all take a nap every 3 games, no matter how good they look in those other ones. So that's what's just so maddening, and I don't really know what to make of that. But I don't know. I want them to hang around. I want them to get close. And I would say that the other point I was going to make is what you have seen over these past few weeks is some of those teams they've been chasing that we said, oh, they'll come back to the pack. Well, they have started losing. The Marlins just lost 7 or 8 in a row. The Reds lost a bunch. I know they heated back up this weekend. The Giants are now in a total mess. So you seem like you would be getting these opportunities with these other teams losing, and we're not fully taking advantage of it yet. And that's frustrating.
And with that in mind, Jordan, I wanted to ask you, outside of the Atlanta Braves, is there one team in baseball that you fully trust? You would give your full-throated endorsement for outside of the Atlanta Braves? I mean, what would be the team you'd pick?
Yeah, so it's interesting when we just had this conversation on the podcast we recorded this morning. Because Jake is a big Orioles fan, and the Orioles now have the best record in the AL.
They do. They have a worse run differential than the Padres.
There you go, right? And it's you see the kind of holes in that team, and you think, okay, who's the best team in the AL? And I was like, they're not the best team, but who do I trust the most? It's still Houston, and that seems crazy because of how many injuries they've had and how different they look over the past few years. But when I look and say, okay, when they're fully operational, when Jordan is back, when Altuve is back, when they have some of their pitchers, I know they've had a lot of injuries. Man, I still feel like I'm trusting them. Can I honestly say they're the second best team in baseball? No, I can't say that right now. But if I'm projecting ahead, do I trust them more than the Dodgers, who, of course, looked a little bit better recently, but also still have huge questions on the pitching staff? I don't know. It's a great question. I really, and that's what should make the second half so much fun. And maybe there is a move that's one of these teams can make that makes us feel like, oh, yeah, it's definitely them. But, I mean, Atlanta's obviously sitting pretty for a reason.
Atlanta's sitting pretty. We're talking to Jordan Schusterman from Cespedes Family Barbecue here on a grand old Monday. Atlanta's sitting pretty, but 1 minute ago, have just added a piece to their bullpen to bolster their bullpen. They have acquired Pierce Johnson from the Colorado Rockies, former San Diego Padre. Nasty hook from Pierce Johnson. And I got to imagine he is a Denver kid, but I got to imagine going to a contender like the Atlanta Braves with a legit shot at winning a World Series. Probably a pretty special day for him. That hook is going to play a little bit better in Atlanta than it does in Colorado. Nice to see a team that's running away with the entire universe continue to add pieces.
But that's how they roll. And I maintain, too, that if their farm system wasn't barren and they hadn't signed everyone, they'd be going for Ohtani also. Like, they don't care. You know, when they made the Sean Murphy trade, we were like, oh, well, what do they need him for? It's like, well, because even though they don't need him, he is still an upgrade and they can still get better, and they just push and push and push. That's what makes it so impressive. And it doesn't surprise me that they're a team that's like, well, we don't necessarily have the pressure on us, but might as well, you know, jump ahead and try and get a reliever we believe in. And yeah, I believe for Pierce Johnson, that's awesome. I mean, he got to pitch it home for a little bit, but I'm sure he's excited about that opportunity. Thanks for breaking the news to me.
No, it's my pleasure. Thank you very much.
It's funny because just before you said that, I was thinking, well, given that we've all decided that the Braves are kind of head and shoulders right now above anyone else, they should be the most aggressive. They should be making the early moves and make it feel like everybody else is chasing from so far behind. Why even try? I mean, this is the time for the Atlanta Braves to say, hey, we are going for it. We're all in. We're already the best team. We're only going to get better. Don't even bother trying to take us down this year. This is our year. So I love that move if I'm an Atlanta Braves fan.
Yeah, they can kind of do no wrong. And it's been so interesting too, because it's easy for me as someone who follows prospects to be like, they can't make any trades. Their farm system stinks. And then they just keep making these trades and they keep adding major league parts. And maybe they're not, I mean, the Murphy trade is still kind of stunning, even though it maybe cost them, you know, William Contreras in some form, but it doesn't take, I mean, we just saw with them 2 years ago, right? Like, it doesn't necessarily take acquiring the best player at the deadline to make your team better and go on a run. I know that was kind of an extreme example, but that's why you want to see teams do something, right? If you're going to move in the right direction, that even includes the Padres. Maybe they aren't going to go out and get the best player available, but at least something that you're adding and not subtracting, even if it is a veteran rental piece, maybe a role player or a bench player or a platoon bat, like those things can make a big difference if you can kind of mix them into the group in an effective way.
This week's going to be excruciating. I'm going to tell you right now. It's just going to be excruciating because of the baseball, the potential trades. What if? What are we doing? You're already seeing teams go ahead and make jumps. You know, the Aroldis Chapman move 2 weeks ago, it's paid nothing but dividends, and we'll see him at the end of this week when the Rangers come to town.
Well, and once again, for at least the second straight year, I mean, all eyes on San Diego.
All eyes on San Diego. There's at least 3 really valuable pieces that could be moved. One probably makes no sense at all, but wouldn't surprise me. Nothing surprised me anymore. You said you when you tweeted this morning, Jordan, you wanted to talk about one Taylor Colway. You said excited to talk about Taylor Colway. Let's hear it. You know what he looks like to me? This isn't a shot at him, but when you are playing like MLB The Show and you build somebody, it's like he looks like the prototypical left-handed hitter that stock character. He looks like a stock character.
You could not be more spot on. That is an incredible comparison. I am just a little bit partial to Taylor Colway since he is a former Division III baseball player, and he was one of the best that the D3 level has seen in the last 10 years. And when he got up to AAA, he's been in El Paso. He's played like 300 games in El Paso, and the Padres keep signing these older veterans who are stinking. I'm like, can we give Taylor Colway a chance? Can we just let him? I'm not saying he's going to be a future all-star, but can we at least get this guy in the big leagues? So whatever happens from here, I'm just glad that he's going to be able to say he is a Major League Baseball player, and maybe he will continue to give them some level of spark. I will point out, they didn't start him yesterday and they lost. So that's
very true.
Just saying.
Could have started him over Matt Carpenter yesterday, and maybe he would have had a better result. You never know. Never know.
Last thing for me, Jordan. Any thoughts on the induction of Fred McGriff and Scott Rowland yesterday? As a Padres fan growing up, I thoroughly enjoyed the couple of years that we got to see the Crime Dog manning first base. Had his first All-Star season here in San Diego. Did briefly mention San Diego in his speech. Scott Rowland obviously played on the other side of the country, but certainly was one of those third basemen you always appreciated.
Totally, yeah. And, those are guys who's, of course, for me, I remember more the tail ends of their careers, but I think it's really cool to see those two guys kind of go in together, both of whom were kind of equally underappreciated. I know McGriff, they both kind of took different journeys to get to the Hall of Fame, but you kind of go back and you're like, oh yeah, like those dudes were great examples of being good for so long. And that's exactly the kind of player that players in the game respect more than anybody is the dudes who can play that well for that long. Maybe their best season wasn't the most amazing season that you've ever seen compared to some of the other Hall of Famers, but the body of work is so impressive, and clearly two of the more likable players over the course of most of their careers in most of their spots for a very long time. So very cool to see. I know usually in most inductions there's like one obvious headliner that kind of takes most of the attention. I felt like this was a good balance for both of those guys to get the attention that they really deserve.
Jordan, great checking in with you again on a Monday. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to next time, guys.
Thanks, brother.
Jordan Schusterman, Cespedes Family Barbecue on our grand old barbecue Monday. Sorry, we get so many barbecues in there. It is hard to say sometimes.
So much barbecue.
You can check out Grand Old Barbecue, Flynn Springs, North Park, and at the ballpark. Best brisket in San Diego. I think I can say that confidently. Definitely my favorite.
Mine too.
Always delicious. Really, really good. And of course, all guests appear on our Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline. Save money the right way with Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad. Visit them today in the Carlsbad Auto Mall. Chevrolet, find new roads. I just thought Pierce Johnson's numbers are horrible this year.
Yeah, they're terrible.
I know he's pitching at Coors Field.
Better on the road, but still not great.
Yeah, he is overall 1-5 with a 6 ERA. Opponents are hitting .263 against his curveball with 5 homers and .381 against his four-seam fastball. His whip is 1.846. As you said, his home ERA is 7.23. His road ERA is a little bit better, 4.11. But Braves are hoping they get C-level Pierce Johnson and not Coors Field Pierce Johnson for sure.
Something tells me he'll be fine in that bullpen. Something tells me the moves that they make are good, strong moves. Don't know what they gave up to get him.
Victor Vodnik.
Okay.
And another prospect as well. Young pitchers.
Yeah.
Tanner Gordon.
Mark Feinsand tweets, the Rockies should be very active with CJ Crone, Randall Grichuk, Jerkson, Profar, Brent Suter, and Brad Hand all potentially being moved. Not a lot of those guys do a lot for me there if the Rockies are unloading. CJ Crone's not having a good year either. So a lot of people clamoring for him. He's not having a good year either. And
they're clamoring for him because he kills the Padres.
Yeah, of course.
When they face him.
Yes.
But he's not necessarily been that good against everybody else this year. Now, he's been good in the past, and, I do think the Padres should be targeting. I like the idea of targeting a guy whose numbers show that they should be getting better, as opposed to targeting like the Adam Frazier's of the world, whose numbers all say, hey, he's been overperforming and is probably due for a drop. Go after someone like the Braves did a couple of years ago, like a Rosario or a Gallo type move, where a guy who may not be having a great season, but
Joey Gallo again.
Well, I don't think he's available. I'm just saying he had a great finish to the year, a couple of years ago after the trade. Someone like that who is ripe for a turnaround might be the guy you'd rather, usually it costs less, and you're not setting a guy up for a big fall once he gets to Petco Park after a good start to the season.
Which, it almost feels inevitable. It feels inevitable.
But then if you get a guy who's not playing that well,
right,
go the other direction.
Right.
All right, we'll come back. We got 1 hour left. Paulie's got some headlines on the Reindl Report, including something that happened on Zoom this weekend involving several NFL players. That is coming up next on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Final hour of Ben and Woods is brought to you by Total Wine and More. With so many bottles to choose from, there's always something new to try at Total Wine and More. How about a great Prosecco for under $8 and a French Rosé for under $7? With the lowest prices for over 30 years, find what you love and love what you find only at Total Wine and More. Drink responsibly. B21. Saw an interesting tweet from our friend Sam Levitt, who's going to join us at the bottom of the hour, this hour on Ben and Woods. Said Blake Snell now has the lowest ERA among all qualified starting pitchers in Major League Baseball at 2.67. It's really ridiculous that he wasn't an all-star. Now, Blake Snell didn't pitch yesterday. His ERA didn't go down. I think it's mostly a function of the fact that Clayton Kershaw no longer has enough innings to qualify. He has a better ERA. I think it's like 2.55. But the Dodgers once again pushed back his throwing program yesterday. Not sure when he's going to return. And he remains a big question mark for that team going forward the rest of the season. So when you look at the qualified ERA list in baseball, it is now Blake Snell, number one in the big leagues at 2.67 amongst starters, which is really great. Like I said last week, I mean, he's pitched himself into Cy Young territory, sort of.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard for me to get super thrilled about individual awards right now, even the All-Star game and stuff, just based on how this season has gone. And I know that's not the right way to think. That's just that's just how I feel, Cool. Congrats. Lowest ERA in baseball. Keep it up. It's the worst. If we're 10 games over 500, I'm like, hell yeah, dude, that's our ace. It's a bad way to fan. I get it, but that's who I am essentially.
You would not have liked much of Tony Gwynn's career then, because Padres were always 15, 20 games under 500, but all I do every morning is
look for a batting title.
What average was Tony at?
That's different.
Is he above or behind Todd Helton or Vinny Castilla or whoever he's chasing on the Rockies right there? The batting title.
Mostly different because you didn't go into that season probably ever thinking, well, this team's going to put it together and win a World Series. You didn't have that gut feeling going in and everyone talking about you, but it's certainly, I'm happy for Blake. You guys know I'm a Blake
To me,
Snell
though,
fan.
the MVP award of the Cy Young are really different in the fact that I would have trouble voting for an MVP on a guy on a team that's in last place.
Sure.
No matter how good the numbers are, if you're not lifting your team up to be better, then I don't know that you could be the MVP.
I mean, not in baseball.
Yeah.
Baseball, I can vote. If the Angels are 60 and 122,
still
Shohei Ohtani's the MVP.
We'll take Ohtani out of it because he's an outlier because nobody's done what he's done since Babe Ruth in the 20s. But Mike Trout won MVPs on not so great Angels teams. I don't begrudge Mike Trout really.
That's when it comes to they should rename it the most outstanding player instead of the most valuable.
Yeah. It happens because sometimes a guy's stats are so overwhelming, but most of the time, the MVP vote, hey, it's usually a battle between 3 or 4 guys who all put up really, really good numbers. And then you end up looking and seeing, well, how do their teams do? How do they lift the rest of the guys on their team? I think for Cy Young, it really doesn't matter how the team did that year. First of all, it's probably a starting pitcher, which means you're pitching every 5th or 6th day at most. And things like win-loss record are totally based on whether the offense scores or not, which you have nothing to do with at all as well. It really is, ERA and strikeout pretty much what should determine who wins a Cy Young award each year. And right now, you're not going to find better than Blake Snell in Major League Baseball at least at ERA, and he's right up there in strikeouts as well.
Which is awesome. I mean, I that last start notwithstanding, he's been an absolute delight to watch him be locked in this year. Did you hear the little dig at Padres fans yesterday on the broadcast? Did you guys catch that? Oh, you didn't watch the broadcast, did you? I thought it was great. We're talking to Blake. He is a star on the mic, as we all know, and he jumps on yesterday on the Peacock broadcast. It wasn't like a dig, but it was funny. He said, I try to focus after every start. I really dive deep into what I did right, what I did wrong. I'm honest with myself about where I'm at.
What you said,
and he goes, traditionally, I guess in my career, I've always been a bit of a slow starter. He goes, I didn't really realize that till Padres fans told me. So I died. And I said it Friday and I meant it. That dude, it's caught a lot of flack here for being pretty damn good pitcher since he's gotten here. And what he's been able to do this season, obviously, is incredible. The guy takes the things that I've seen fans rip on the guy for. Oh, he's got dark circles under his eyes. Oh, he must not be sleeping. Oh, he plays a lot of video games. Oh, he's never ready. His conditioning's crappy. I said it last week. I'll say it again. No one in the starting rotation has more starts under their belt this season than Blake Snell. If there's a workhorse for the San Diego Padres, it's been Blake Snell. It's not an opinion. It's a fact. He's started more games than Joe, than you. Blake didn't get sick for 3 months or for 2-3 weeks. Blake didn't drop a weight on his foot, didn't run on hot lava and burn his feet. I love all those guys, but you know what I'm saying? Like the guy
Snell in 71 starts as a Padre. He's 21-24 with a 3.46. He's got an 11.9 strikeouts per nine.
Yeah, I mean he's won playoff games for us. Like he's taken an inordinate amount of grief, I think, over the years. Sure, he's had slow starts. He has. He absolutely has. I just found it interesting. He's like, I didn't really realize that until Padres fans let me know about my slow starts. I've tried to combat that this year. He has. Very much so.
Well, and it's because Blake Snell can sometimes be frustrating to watch. Just like the discussion we had with
frustrating.
Frustrating.
It's frustrating.
Just like we had the discussion with Juan Soto last week, who takes the most flack for a guy who's top 6 in OPS in the league and leading the Padres in most offensive categories. Who takes the flack? It's Soto. And fans find those two guys in particular, their most productive pitcher, starting pitcher, and offensive player, as guys that they seem to target with their frustration.
I saw somebody last week. I wish I knew who it was. I don't remember, but they posted a screenshot of like the top 10 OPS leaders, and Soto's like number 5 or number 6, and they're just like, does everybody else on this list get crapped on as much as Soto
I do
does?
wonder. We don't live obviously in other cities. We don't listen to sports radio in other cities, and
Is it just Soto?
It's wild. It is wild. The Atlanta Braves have made another move and gone out and gotten Taylor Hearn. He's a left-handed pitcher from the Texas Rangers. Not a great season this year. They've only thrown 7 innings in the big leagues, Ben, this season. And his ERA is 10.29. There's something in them that they like. He's a lefty, probably, and that's probably what they want. Not a great numbers-wise move for them, but they're doing what they did, where they're just loading up on guys and maybe throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. And clearly they need some bullpen help, and they're going after it. Taylor Hearn and Pierce Johnson today.
Okay, Paulie's going to throw some stuff up on the wall, see what sticks in today's Roundel Report.
And get things started here with our today's edition of the Roundel Report.
Now tuned into the greatest.
Welcome to the Reindl Report with Paul Reindl.
Hi, Paul.
All right.
2 stories from the world of sports that we haven't gotten to yet.
We'll start off in Major League Baseball.
And 1 story that you didn't know you needed.
Are you laughing, biatch?
It's the Reindl Report
Hey, Paul, how you doing? Okay, how are you?
on 97.3 The Fan.
Are you ready to bless the mood? I need some help, please.
That was good.
Can I get a yeah? Oh, yeah.
All right. Morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
So over the weekend, a lot of NFL running backs, big names in the NFL, all jumped on a Zoom call together. And I'm reading from ESPN here. It says to discuss the depressed market for players at their position. Nick Chubb, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey, Josh Jacobs, Austin Eckler. He was actually the ringleader. He kind of organized this whole thing. And they just said there's really nothing we can do right now, but we've talked about this in the past, and it's no new phenomenon really that NFL running backs, there's a short shelf life for running backs, and teams will use you up and get rid of you very quickly. And that's a tough spot to be in if you are an aspiring running back, if you're a college running back, young NFL running back.
So what was the purpose of the Zoom? Is it like, hey, I'm with you, like talking through a little therapy, if you will?
Just how they're not being paid like their true worth.
Their worth, yeah.
Because they know that teams know that, well, you're only going to be here a couple of years, probably.
I don't know how many details emerged. Obviously, I mean, I don't think they're going to sit out, do a massive sit out.
I think some guys are.
See how it looks this year with no running backs in the NFL. But
It'd be fun.
I do think that they need to organize themselves a little bit better so that when the next CBA comes up, that their interests are pushed a little harder by the players union. Like quarterbacks are getting theirs,
My
and
God, do
wide
they
receivers they all seem to be getting theirs, but the running backs are getting the short end of the stick on this.
You see a lot of franchise tags going out to running backs. Nick Chubb said yesterday, right now there's really nothing we can do. We're kind of handcuffed with the situation. We're the only position that our production hurts us the most. If we go out there and run 2,000 yards with so many carries, the next year they're going to say, you're probably worn down.
Yeah, you're worn out.
It hurts us at the end of the day.
It's tough, man. Yeah, quarterback goes on and has a great year. They're like, pay this guy. Pay this
Maybe
guy.
a little bit like a reliever in baseball.
Sure.
Man, he threw a lot of innings last year. I don't know if we want to trust him. He was great, though. Yeah, but he's probably going to fall off the map this year.
That's a relief pitcher, though. This is a running
punishing
back,
guys for having productive seasons.
Yeah. No question about it. No, it's certainly become it's kind of been whispers the last few years, and people know. And then this year, it's really come to the forefront with some of the main guys not getting what they deem their bag, and what a position to have to fight for every nickel, like you fight for every yard. These guys are out there fighting for every nickel. They're involved on almost every single play. They should. The franchise tag for them should be way higher than $10 million, way higher. The abuse they take, the risk involved, knees, head, ribs, thighs, you name it, man. Those guys are involved every single play.
They're barely making more than kickers now.
No kidding. Nick Saban make more than most NFL running backs? Seriously.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, gentlemen, we followed this story throughout, so we might as well continue. Sports media, debate shows, really it's the top two are First Take and Undisputed.
Right.
And we talked about the falling out of Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless. Skip Bayless, who started on First Take. It all comes full circle. Shannon Sharp to ESPN is looking very likely. Stephen A. Smith took a little vacation, and then on Friday, he returned last week, and he said, I want Shannon Sharp on First Take, and I aim to get him. We are definitely talking to Shannon Sharp. The conversations are official. The reports have not been misnomers or misreports or anything like that. We are talking to him. I'm hopeful, and very confident that ultimately we will be announcing sooner than later that he will be on First Take. Kind of a cushiony job, for Shannon Sharp, and he gets to twist that knife a little bit in Skip Bayless.
And work with, and it's going to be a fortune, though, I would imagine.
Well, especially now that Stephen A. Smith is making it public and making his wants known. It's going to be even harder for ESPN not to sign
I've
Shannon
tried
Sharp.
that with Adam 1,000 times. It never works, ever.
Remember, ESPN is having all these cutbacks.
I know.
And, people are leaving. It's hard to justify making another big money hire. You just hired Pat McAfee, big money. Now Shannon Sharp as well.
I will say that we started the year off here. We came in, there was no paper and no water. And now here at Odyssey, there is plenty of water, as much as you can drink. They got a new water machine. So I guess my cries were heard. New water. Paulie, we had any paper issues, really?
No.
I mean, things are good. So squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Our next goal is a computer that doesn't make Jordan Schusterman and all of our Zoom guests sound a little choppy through the interview.
Terrible.
All right, and finally, your Twitter update for the week.
Oh yeah,
we'll see
what's
how this
going on
goes.
in the world of Twitter, guys? Anything new?
I see a big change just in the last couple of minutes.
Oh really?
Yep. I just refreshed, and
the
bird is
left.
gone, and there's now an X in its place.
So over the weekend, and it's official now, I guess, over the weekend, Elon Musk announced that he is changing the name of Twitter to X.
Just X.
Said, quote, soon we shall bid adieu to the Twitter brand and gradually all the birds. Once this happens, a tweet will be called an X, and followers will be called viewers. Elon has a son named X. He's the son that was born a couple of years ago that had like all the weird numerals and everything. So I don't know if it's officially an homage to his son or not.
Just
but,
a cool letter. X is a very cool letter.
Oh yeah.
Very cool.
But just given the way things have gone since Elon's took over, I mean, this is, I guess, kind of par for the course. Take a globally known brand name and throw it out the window and change
prepare
it
to get a
completely?
lot of mad X's coming your way today, Paulie. People get very upset when you go after Elon. Very upset. So you're going to
I
get
don't
some.
want to send an X.
You're going to get some X's.
Sounds like I'm
today.
dealing drugs or something.
Some X's will be firing at you.
Dealing a little X here on the website.
Save that clip. Yeah, I don't get it. I feel like I've made the right move. Part of me
Twitter kind of made sense. You're tweeting around like little birds, little statements. You're tweeting all over the place.
So it's X now, and if you look to the bottom, because I just pull up our show account, and it still says tweet at the bottom. So if I hit tweet, I can still hit a tweet.
Mine just says what is happening, and I type in
the tweet. It still says tweet. You know what I'm saying?
Where am I?
Like
Oh, a tweet. Yeah, tweet right there. A tweet.
Send an X.
It doesn't say X.
So that will eventually say X. Should I get back on?
No.
Now that it's
your
X?
Twitter
Now
ban
that
is
it's
over,
X?
but now that you're X,
Hey,
you
I
can
said
come
I
back.
quit Twitter. I didn't quit X.
Save that.
It's also true. I wonder what's going to happen.
If
with
you
this.
send anything spicy, it'll be a triple X.
Double X. I'm not enjoying Threads as much as I.
Boy, they have fallen off a cliff
They
in
have.
terms of
It's boring
few
as hell.
days, but nothing's happening.
I mean, it really is. It's like as much as we try to I've logged in a couple of times, and I don't know if it's just I only have almost 800 followers. I had 20,000 on Twitter, and it's just dead. All I see are inspirational quotes. That's it. The best remedy for anger is delay. There's one. Beauty isn't about having a pretty face. It's about having a pretty mind, a kind heart, and most importantly, a beautiful soul. It's fantastic.
It's tough to.
It's all, and people
It's
said
tough to get into the routine of adding
is.
another social media or another app.
Ben, if you didn't know this, seeking validation will keep you trapped. You don't need anyone or anything to approve of your worth. Understand this, and you'll be free. These are the things that I'm getting on Threads. It's really, you have no idea how good life is about to get for you.
You sold these on posters at one time.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. So I'm supportive of the genre, but it's weird. I don't follow any of these people, and
You must be doing something weird.
that's all I see, dude.
Yeah, mine's fairly normal.
What are
feed.
your goals this week from Motivation Mafia, who I do not follow? I mean, that's it. That's all I get.
All right, let's take a timeout. When we come back,
Ben, if you see someone falling behind, walk beside them. If someone has been knocked down, lift them up. Always remind people of their worth. One small act could mean the world to them. These are positive messages. I still don't want to see them, all of them, in my feed.
All right, we got a short segment when we come back before Sammy Levitt joins us. We went to Comic-Con on Friday. I want everybody's favorite whatever they saw while we were down there at Comic-Con on Friday.
Mine's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I think
Can we play it?
Yeah, well,
Let's
we'd have to beep out a lot, I think.
Would we?
Well, I mean, if you can see the raw video, you can go to our YouTube feed. But we will have that for you next after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan. I want to hear a couple of things you enjoyed about our trip down to Comic-Con, and then I need to vent about something as well about our trip down to Comic-Con.
Okay.
But we went Friday after the show. It is pretty amazing down there. I've got to say, it's crowded. You got to fight through a lot of people, but they are into it. They are passionate. They are dressed up in just some incredible costumes. And I thought my favorite moment, I loved running into Ted Lasso and Coach Beard.
Yeah, identical, man. Coach Beard was identical.
Really looked like Coach Beard from Ted Lasso.
Yeah, the Ted one left a little bit to be desired, but then he reached in his pocket and he gave me an Army Man, dude. And it was such a cool touch. I put it in my office where I work at home. I put my little Army Man up there. It was really, really cool.
And I also got a string that we were supposed to use to tie our boys together, so you never get too far apart. That was one of the training techniques for the AFC Richmond soccer team on the show.
Yeah, we passed on that.
I think the string was a little too short. Their strings were a little longer. This one was only about
a foot long.
Yeah, about a foot long.
Yeah.
I feel like that would have limited our mobility.
Yeah,
quite a bit.
In the woods, and we are here with Ted Lasso and Coach Beard. Guys, we're huge fans of AFC Richmond. What brings you to San Diego?
Well, there's a lot of football and sports going on during Comic-Con, isn't there? That's what I heard. There's a baseball stadium, so we're going to play some soccer here.
I regret, though, I should have said Ben Higgins, the Independent, when I was interviewing Ted Lasso, kicking myself all weekend for not thinking of that and taking advantage of the opportunity.
I enjoyed seeing and meeting Jen Sturger, who had just was fresh off.
She was more just returning to her hotel. She wasn't really a Comic-Con attendee at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, she was returning from buying bras. That's a true story. She said that she had to go and buy bras because she
packed 5 suitcases full of costumes
and forgot bras. Adam, our boss, noticed her getting out of her car from behind and said, "I think that's Jen Sturger." And then she said, "Did you just notice me from behind? You must subscribe." And I almost fell on the ground in laughter. And it was a great, great moment. She's very, very nice, very lovely person. And it was fun. Those were good. I enjoyed our Hot Wheels interview.
That was my favorite.
That was pretty good.
Here if you missed it.
There's
Hey guys, it's
the
Woodsy.
S word at the end, so be careful.
I clipped it.
Hey guys, it's Woodsy here with Ben, who said, "Can you please interview me about Hot Wheels?" So here is my interview. You always say, "I don't know. You don't know anything about me." When I was a kid, I would park my Hot Wheels cars. I did not like to drive them around and race them or anything. I would create parking lots, and I would put the lines. My mom would help me with a big sheet of butcher paper and create parking spaces. And I loved to park all my Hot Wheels cars nice and neatly when I was like 3 years old.
Holy makes a lot.
I
of
just
sense.
sound happy talking about it.
Yeah, you did.
Just in a good mood.
You did. It
However,
was a fun day.
I do have one complaint, one gripe, because as we were making our plans to go down to Comic-Con, I repeatedly said, because Wood said, we'll take the van down, the
Ben
97 through the fan van, the Ben bus down, and be like advertising. All these people are down there. They'll see the branding on the side of the van. And I was like, but there's nowhere to sit in the back of the van. And Wood said, doesn't matter. I'll sit back there with Paul. You can sit in the front with Adam. I said, I'm fine driving my own car down. I will find a parking spot somewhere. Don't worry about it. I just don't want to have to sit in the back of the van. So on the way down, that's how it works out. I sit in the front with Adam. You're in the back with Paul. But then as we're getting ready to leave, you jump right in. Well, I rode in the back on the way. I'm going to ride in the front on the way back. So I had to ride in the back of the van. And by the time we got back here to our studios, our Odyssey studios, I was about ready to throw up from car sickness from riding in a windowless back of the van. It was like, it must be like, when you were arrested because they had like the bars somehow between the driver and the back.
Don't be such a wuss.
It's not comfortable. I was sitting backwards on the floor. There's nothing. It's just very uncomfortable. And I thought I was supposed to get to sit in the front.
Yeah.
Or I would have taken my own car.
You taking your own car that's playing for the name on the back of your jersey and not the front. That's what that is. That is, I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to, there's already enough of that in the world, Ben. This was a team outing. So you did it. I'm proud of you. You did it. And you made
very
it.
nauseous,
Yeah,
though.
you made it.
As I expected. But even Paulie was getting nauseous by the end. He sat in the back both ways.
Yeah.
So credit to Paulie for really
My back
really
hurt.
sacrificing all the way.
That side of the van.
I get that I can be a diva sometimes.
Yeah.
But I thought I would offset that by I'll just take my own car. And then one of you can sit on the front both ways at least.
No.
But no. Or you can drive with me and everyone gets a seat.
We did it as a team.
We did it as a team.
Yep. And that's important.
All right. Speaking of the team, Sam Levitt is a member of the team, and he will join us in season Sammy after the 5-5 road trip all the way through Philadelphia, Toronto, and Detroit. Did you know the last East Coast excursion for the Padres this season? No more East Coast time zone games for the Padres. That's good. Got
more
got
preemption for us then.
That's a good point. No more morning games. Yeah, that's true. That is. I didn't think of that. Thanks a lot, Woods, for seeing the dark lining to every silver cloud.
I usually do.
It's Ben and Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. All right, Woodsy's fixing his camera. I'll tell you this hour on 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by SC Johnson Raid. Long road trip is in the books, yet here the Padres are still 4 games under 500, just where they went into the All-Star break at. And now they're coming home 4 games under 500. We've got Sam Levitt standing by. In-season Sammy going to join us right after this check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
From the premier Kia of Carlsbad Traffic Center, part of the Premier Auto family, here's Kelly Tannick.
Still a few things wrapping up our morning drive. Got this vehicle over the side on eastbound 804 Texas Street. That is over to the right shoulder. Watch out for a little activity there. Also, northbound side of the 805 right before 43rd. We have reports of a stalled vehicle over the left shoulder. Traveling on the North 5 coastline right before Loma Santa Fe. A tire in the center divide. Looks like Caltrans is running a brake to clear that, so just take it extra carefully there. Northbound side of the 15 before Poway Road, some tire debris in the 3 right lanes. Then up ahead, right past Valley Parkway, we have reports of some chunks of concrete across lanes. That again is northbound side of the 15 past Valley Parkway, and southbound side of the 15 near Villa Rancho. Watch out for a traffic cone bouncing around in lanes. I'm Kelly Danik with Ben and Wood, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Let's go out to our premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline. We are joined by our Padres pre- and post-game show host here on 97.3 The Fan. Joins us every Monday. Sam Levitt is with us. And Sam, I said last hour that while it's very frustrating to be a Padres fan this year, and I'm sure it's been frustrating for players and coaches and members of the front office, I think the people who will have it the worst are us, who have to talk about the team on the radio. Because how do you know whether you're preparing to talk about a team that many times looks like they could be the best team in baseball, like they did on Saturday, did a couple of times during this road trip. They go
Friday
out,
looked pretty damn
they
good.
look like a complete team, offensively, pitching, defense. I mean, top notch at every level. Or are you going to talk about a team that inexplicably the offense disappears? They find another frustrating way to lose a close game, and you really don't know which day is going to be which. So how do you talk about this team with any semblance of intelligence when they always seem to defy every logical explanation?
From a broadcast perspective, I think it's been really difficult to find that balance. And I thought the last 48 hours were a pretty good example of that. Like you said, what they did on Saturday, how good you felt after Saturday, looking ahead to Sunday, seeing who they were facing on the mound. But then you hop on the air after the game on Sunday yesterday with the post-game show, and it's a totally different sounding show and feeling, than what you had on Saturday after they won 2 in a row and the offense did what it did. So I think for me on the broadcast side, like it's been definitely on a personal level more difficult to, I guess, take the wide view of an 162 game season. We're very much analyzing, breaking down, and really, I guess, for me and the fans as well, kind of, dealing with the up and down emotions of each and every game. Whereas, I think traditionally during the baseball season, you try to zoom out, have perspective. And I feel like the first couple of months, we all sort of had more of that, feeling like this thing would turn, like the run would come. But obviously 100 games in, that hasn't happened. So, it's been, from my perspective, very interesting, sometimes difficult to find the balance between having that wide perspective, trying to provide that on the air, but also, kind of living in the moment and living game by game. And certainly the last, 2 days were a microcosm of what the season has been and what it's been like, at least for me, on the broadcast side as well. So it is difficult to figure out. It's been in so many ways a very confusing, sort of mystifying season. Yesterday it was really hard to make sense of it. I mean, Bob Melvin, was kind of asking those same questions about the offense after the game. We heard the same from Xander Bogaerts. We heard similar stuff from Joe Musgrove. And those are the days that have really confused you. And I guess if you want the glass half empty view of things, make you scratch your head and really wonder if this team has the type of run in them that it's going to require to make the postseason. I said last night, I tweeted it. I still think that run will come in some form in all likelihood, but with 62 games left, it's getting late early, and especially with the deadline coming up next week.
Well, congrats to everyone for making it to the 100-game mark. That is quite an accomplishment. That being said, it has felt like, we keep waiting for the Padres to, quote, turn the corner, right? Everyone, hey, let's turn the corner on this season, but it feels like it's just been one massively long straightaway. Just waiting, one long straightaway. Go ahead.
You know what, Woods? It's interesting you say that, because I had this thought a couple of weeks ago. I think what's been interesting is that it almost feels like I know it's 100 games and it's a weird thing to say, but it almost feels like it never has really got started.
Yeah.
Right? Like they came out of the gate not playing all that well. They hovered around 500. They had some flares in April, the Mexico City series, where you felt like, okay, here we go. They're picking up momentum, but obviously that didn't happen. And then you went into May and June and now in July, and it's been this very seesaw offense, and it's been consistently inconsistent through 100 games. So, on an emotional level, that's what it's felt like to me. And it's been the weird part of this year, coming out of spring training, all the excitement, all the expectations. In some ways, it feels like it really hasn't started in a way, because we haven't seen that run. We haven't seen them play anywhere close to the type of baseball we expected for an extended stretch. So it's been a weird year to this point, and even if they go on that run and somehow get into the postseason and do all of that, I think at this point it's going to be sort of an interesting, weird year no matter how it ends.
I'll just add, I don't mind being wrong. It comes with the territory in this job. I thought the Padres were going to be really good, and they haven't lived up to those expectations. But I also don't feel confident enough to tell you right now that they can't do it. Like,
right.
I feel
you don't feel like they're cooked.
I feel very hesitant to say, I know for a fact this team sucks, because I don't. They're too good for me to even say that at this point.
I know. It's wild. You cannot call them cooked. I think there are teams that you look around in the big leagues and go, yes, like if you're a Marlins fan, you're like, we're probably cooked. We're probably cooked. The way that they've started the second half, you look at it and you go, Luzardo was brilliant yesterday. But you still took your extra innings to beat the Rockies, and you're like, man, it was a really fun first half. We probably don't have the guns to get, to the end of the road. Maybe even the Reds. But you look at the Padres, and you're like, I don't know if that's brown and yellow glasses, but you're like, the starting pitching is healthy for the most part. Your big guns are healthy. You've gotten a nice bullpen piece back. Sure, the offense is inconsistent, but you're like, look what they're capable of doing. So it's hard to say. Yeah, I mean, they can run, they can field like the Dickens. It's like, it's really hard to say, no, this team's going nowhere. It's almost impossible to say that.
Yeah, and there are, the interesting part of it, and I'm going to read off some numbers here, is that there are so many underlying numbers and things that would point to this team being better. Certainly the run differential overall is one of them. One of the things that makes me hopeful is the fact that this starting staff continues, despite injuries, despite a lot of different factors, continues to do some really, really good things. The Padres lead the majors in starter ERA going back to June 20th, 2.73. It's a half run better than anybody else, any other starting staff in that span. But here's the thing, and this is where it gets so confusing. The Padres are 2 games under 500 in that stretch, over 28 games. So you look at that. You look at the fact that overall, Fernando Tatis Jr. is hitting 320 in July. He's done some good things. It's been a little bit hot and cold. We know Juan Soto had some great moments over the weekend. His overall numbers going back for a while are good. Manny, for the most part, has had a great month, especially as far as the home runs and runs batted in. I mean, even Xander Bogaerts, if you zoom out, you look at his last 16 games, he's batting 318. Like, there are signs even beyond the fact that there are teams ahead of them that are not playing nearly as well. Signs with the starting pitching, signs, and yesterday not a good example of it, but that the big four have played a lot better overall if you zoom out and look at the wider stretch. But, even with that said, the record is what it is, and they cannot sustain winning baseball. And you look at this 10-game trip, and it's 5-5. And hey, they were 6 games out of a wild card spot before the All-Star break. They're 6 games out after the 10-game trip. Now, I thought Ben made a good point over the weekend and a good point earlier in the show that it is not totally the same because a lot of those teams have faltered early here in the second half in front of them. So yeah, it's very, very tight. And then the Padres are sort of lurking on the outside, and the Mets and the Cubs right there as well. But yeah, you're a lot closer to more of the teams than you were before the All-Star break. So that is a positive. Gives you more spots to battle for. But I think it's safe to say, and we all know it, the only way it actually happens is if this team goes on the run. And can they do that? That is the $1 million, or I suppose nearly $50 million question, right? Can they do it? The underlying stuff would tell you they can. But that is why it has been such a confusing team to figure out. And going back to the question about just how you talk about this team, yeah, it's been interesting and sometimes challenging day to day because there are parts in me that believe this team will, in the final 62 games, get hot at some point. You hope it's not too late, but then there's the other part of you that looks at 100 games and they haven't shown you that. So it's, I don't know where it'll stand as far as the seasons of Padres baseball, but I would have to imagine, and Ben, and Woods too, you guys would know better than I do, but it certainly has to be up there as far as most kind of confusing and hard to figure out, I think, at this point, no matter how it ends.
Talking to Sam Levitt, our colleague here on 97.3 The Fan here on Ben and Woods. And Sammy, let me ask you, and I want to ask you this, Woods, as well. Kind of addressed it with Bob Melvin when he joined us last Friday. How aggressive, in order to jumpstart that run, how aggressive should the Padres be with their starting pitching staff? For instance, got Darvish, Snell, and Lugo lined up for this series. Then you've got an off day. You could skip that fifth starter. You don't have to put Jackson Wolf out there again in 5 days and wait until they go to Colorado maybe next week against a lesser opponent, then throw him against the Texas Rangers in his next start against one of the more, potent lineups in baseball. You could go with your guys on 4 days rest, but the Padres have always valued, saving those arms and not overtaxing them as much as they possibly can throughout the season.
But at this point, what are we saving guys?
That's what I'm wondering.
We had the same discussion. Remember when the Rays came to town and we were they're shuffling up the rotation, and you're like, probably should have just thrown Weathers and punted that Friday night game.
Right.
Like, you can't do that now.
Every game, it's hard to be strategic.
Is it time for your best arms to go every fifth day, regardless of off days or whatever? Doesn't matter. We need them to make as many starts as possible, meaning Snell, Musgrove, and Darvish mostly for the rest of the season. Sammy, what do you think?
Yeah, I think you have to be aggressive. I mean, I think if it were up to me, which obviously it's not, I would use that off day and stay on kind of a regular rest schedule and not give guys an extra day. I mean, look, isn't that the point of why you do it partially early in the year so guys are fresher?
Yeah.
If you have to go on regular rest later, I mean, look, especially against the Rangers, with that lineup, what they've done, I mean, that's what I would do. Would I be shocked if Jackson Wolf is out there getting another start, against the Rangers? I wouldn't. But I would think that's got to be pretty heavily considered. If it were up to me and I were calling the shots, I would say regular rest. In fact, it's interesting because Darvish today is pitching on 4 days rest and back-to-back starts for the first time this year. He only did it once last season. So, look, with him, in particular, they did a good job last season, really keeping him fresh and keeping everybody fresh. I mean, look, that was a big key to the reason they were able to get into the postseason, all of it. But they were in a very different spot last year. So, if it were up to me, I'm using that off day as a way to make sure I have my best arms going.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. I mean, I know guys are banged up. I know that you are going to have to get guys off their feet. It's what the DH is for. But you can't have any resting of any regulars, really. I mean, unless they're hurt. If they're hurt or injured, then obviously they shouldn't be in there. But if they can go, then they should go. The playoffs kind of start now, right? These games are massively, massively important as the trade deadline approaches, and as the picture, the light gets kind of further and further away. You're still very much in it. You absolutely can turn it around, no question. Starts tonight, but I don't think you can play around a little bit. I think you do need to make aggressive moves if you're Bob Melvin and AJ Preller. Whether that means adding somebody, whether that means moving guys up, moving guys around. You got to do what you got to do. You got 62 games left. It's 2 months. It's a long time. It's a grind, but you really have nobody to blame but yourself. You had chances to turn the corner early in the season, and you haven't. I was really disheartened to hear the stat Dennis Lynn put out this morning. They're 0-5 in their last 5 road Sunday games. They haven't won one of them. It reeks of, all right, we won the series, and let's take it back to the house. There's not that killer instinct, and there's still time to get it. There's still time to get the killer instinct, but we got to see it. You got to see it to believe it.
Yeah, and I guess I'll leave you guys with this. I think the thing that can't happen are games like yesterday.
Right.
I mean,
just cannot.
A winnable game, a chance to put your foot down. I'll throw out the Thursday game in Toronto. Better team, better starting pitcher in Chris Bassett. You didn't score 1-2 out of 3 against a good team. You move on. But with where they are, even at the end of a long, grueling 10-game road trip, you can't have a performance like that.
No.
Yesterday, if you want to go on the kind of run that is required to do what they need to do. And to be honest with you, this series against the Pirates, another good example where you can't have performances like that here tonight. I mean, Quinn Priester on the mound for the Pirates. Now, people are going to, quickly glance at the 11+ ERA, but keep in mind, he only made his major league debut. He's made 1 start. He's the top pitching prospect in the Pirate system. He's 22, good numbers in the minors. He actually began that game against Cleveland last week, his debut, with 3 perfect innings. So he got into trouble the second time through the lineup. This is a guy they've never seen. It's a guy, the type of guy that is both last season and this season, sometimes giving them a lot of trouble, right? So, look, you that can't, with where they are, be an excuse. It just can't. So tonight's I think a pretty good test for them to see what they do after yesterday, especially against a talented young pitcher they've never seen.
Well, Sammy, I was feeling confident
Me
about
too.
tonight, and you just totally poked the hole in that balloon for tonight's game. But we do appreciate the insight and the information, and we'll give the pregame show a listen. 5:40 tonight, 6:40 first pitch against the Pirates. Thanks, Sam.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Thanks,
Sam Levitt. All our guests appear on the Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline. Save money the right way with Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad. Visit them today in the Carlsbad Auto Mall. Chevrolet, find new roads. You can listen to Sam's podcast, Inside San Diego Baseball, at 97.3thefansd.com, the Odyssey app, or wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, all black for a loss tomorrow. If they lose.
You're already there today.
Halfway there, yeah.
From a loss yesterday.
Yep. I
think you look at, I kind of like the idea of, it's the playoffs the rest of the year. Well, you know what? If you win every series, you're fine. So treat them all like playoff series. You got to win the series. You got to keep winning series all the way through, and then you'll be in great shape once October rolls around. All right, that's it for today. We got Coach coming up next. For Paul Reindl, our executive producer, Steven Woods, I'm Ben Higgins. Have a great rest of your Monday from all of us here at 97.3 The Fan. So long.